Han Li's Wuxia Adventures. Chapter 758, Sword Tempo. The sun was moving in the sky as time elapsed. Then, the moon appeared. In the mountains of Tianqi, on a huge snowy area, a silhouette was practicing sword cultivation. His sword was dancing around in the air as snow was splashing around. Not far from that silhouette was Shueli Jian. He was observing Bai Li Shi using his sword and snow energies. Shueli Jian thought he was very talented. In 1 month, Bai Li Shi's intent had increased, both his sword and snow intents. At that moment, Bai Li Shi had broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. His sword intent was level 3 and his snow intent was level 4. To a cultivator of the Xian Qi layer, that was already incredible. He might even catch up with Tianqi Shui, the pure and holy woman. Sirrr. Sirrr. Some subtle sound spread in the air. Snowflakes were being lacerated by the sword. Bai Li Shi's sword had to kill. It contained some deadly energy. Deadly energy? Shueli Jian frowned and said to Bai Li Shi, "Bai Li, is there hatred in your heart?" Bai Li Shi had released some deadly energy. It wasn't only sword deadly energy, it was murderous deadly energy. He wanted to kill people. His sword light disappeared and he put his sword away. Bai Li Shi smiled at Shueli Jian and said, "Teacher, I am all right." Shueli Jian looked at Bai Li Shi for a moment and then nodded. He didn't continue begging the questions, since Bai Li Shi didn't want to tell him, he was not going to be involved. "Bai Li, in just a month, with your strength and natural abilities. Considering the progress you've made, you must be one of the 3 best. If you pay attention and are lucky enough, you will maybe be very lucky in the mysterious world and obtain some incredible treasures. You have to keep the situation under control though, never forget that. You have to remember that your life is the most important thing, no matter what. Treasures are not important, you can abandon them if your life is at stake," said Shueli Jian to Bai Li Shi, who immediately nodded and said, "I understand, teacher." In Bai Li Shi's brain was a silhouette. It was Lin Feng. His obvious murderous intentions were because of Lin Feng. Actually, nothing had happened between him and Lin Feng, they hadn't even known each other for a long time. But Lin Feng wasn't like him or Han Qiuyu, he wasn't famous before the big test. He had suddenly appeared in Tianqi and had drawn everybody's attention. Besides, Lin Feng was much stronger than him, to the extent that Bai Li Shi was just like a tiny little insect. Bai Li Shi's prestige and fame had been hurt. Nobody cared about him anymore, nobody was closely paying attention to him anymore. Lin Feng had become an imaginary enemy for him, but it could be that Lin Feng didn't even remember him. I wonder what he's been learning so far, since his sword intent was already level 5, he mustn't have made lots of progress. Thought Bai Li Shi, trying to guess what Lin Feng's cultivation was like. At that moment, Lin Feng was in a valley full of snow. His sword was emitting whistling sounds in the air and a terrifying sharp and deadly energy seemed like it could destroy everything. Lin Feng's eyes were closed though, he was standing, but he was motionless. The entire atmosphere was filled with a terrifying sword qi, especially above Lin Feng's head in the air. It seemed like there were millions of swords in the air and they were emitting strident whistling sounds. Suddenly, Lin Feng abruptly moved. Both his hands reacted as all the swords moved to another direction where he was pointing. Alone, he was controlling millions of swords and they were all performing the same actions. That was a perfect move, the sword formation was perfect. Lin Feng could control millions of swords at the same time, but any other strong sword cultivator could do that. However, Lin Feng's goal was to make those swords fuse together and become one. That was extremely difficult, those swords seemed like they had become Lin Feng's hands. 10,000 swords unity, said Lin Feng. There were 3 people in that valley and they were standing there watching Lin Feng. That was the first try, could he succeed with just one try? Millions of swords in one breath. It seems like those endless swords were all breathing at the same time. Lin Feng only needed a few days to succeed. How incredible, said the snow cultivator while smiling. He felt very lucky to know Lin Feng. He is even stronger than Jian Fengzi when he was young. Jian Fengzi couldn't manage to make those swords breath at the same time when he was at the Xian Qi layer, said the fire cultivator, smiling and glancing at Jian Fengzi who remained indifferent. They wanted to first teach Lin Feng a Tian level skill of lower quality called sword tempo. Lin Feng was understanding and studying swords, that skill contained some terrifying sword intent. Boom! A muffled sound spread in the air and then Lin Feng started running. In a flash, the snow around him was lacerated by some sword qi. Mud appeared, Lin Feng raised his hands once again, slowly towards the front, and then millions of swords rose up to follow his movements. Together, kill, shouted Lin Feng all of a sudden. A terrifying sword light appeared out of his mouth and the millions of swords emitted incredible whistling sounds which moved in the same direction altogether. Those countless number of swords suddenly turned into one. Boom boom boom. A terrifying sound spread in the air as the ground started shaking violently. That sword had penetrated into a mountain and pierced right through it. There was a tunnel in the middle of the mountain now. One sword had sufficed to open a mountain. Phew. Tian level skills are very difficult. In more than 10 days, I have only learnt the first part of the skill, said Lin Feng, breathing in deeply. He felt like a hero in his heart, he hoped that he would be able to become a monstrously strong cultivator someday. According to the rumors, extremely strong cultivators could destroy mountains and make rivers go dry. Now, he could already pierce through an entire mountain and see the other side. If other people had known his thoughts they would have spat out blood. In 10 days, Lin Feng had managed to learn the first part of a Tian level skill and was complaining that it took too long. Besides, what he was learning was a Tian level skill of medium quality. Many cultivators of the Xian Qi layer would have needed months or years to learn the first part of the skill. Teachers, said Lin Feng while looking at the 3 old men and smiling. Lin Feng, did you study sword intent too? Asked Jian Fengzi. A little bit, but I need to confine myself for a few days in order to improve my sword intent. Then I will be able to reach the level 6, said Lin Feng after remaining silent for a second. Don't worry, when I had the strength of the 9th Xian Qi layer my sword intent was only level 2. Many cultivators barely understand sword intent when they break through to the Tian Qi layer. It gets more and more difficult, even beyond studying and practicing day and night. Don't worry, there will be one day when your sword will reach the clouds. The sword cultivator was worried about Lin Feng, he didn't want Lin Feng to push himself too hard. Actually, Lin Feng's intent was already terrifying, he had relied on only himself to reach a level 5 sword intent. After some time, he would break through to the Tian Qi layer, that would be terrifying. His intent would definitely reach the level 6 then, how scary. Lin Feng nodded, didn't insist and didn't say anything more. He knew that he could increase his sword intent level, he only needed some time alone to visualize a sword. However, Lin Feng also understood that it was going to get harder and harder to become stronger, higher intent levels and higher cultivation layers would be harder to reach. A month was too short, we don't have time to teach you anything. But with your current strength, you can go to the mysterious world without worrying. Please be very careful there though. When you come back from the mysterious world, we will teach you more things and we will help you break through to the Tian Qi layer, said the old snow cultivator. 1 month had passed too fast. Lin Feng had only learnt the sword tempo skill and used half of his time doing so, they didn't have any time to teach him anything more. Chapter 759, Stronger Again, you only have a few days left. Lin Feng will go to the mysterious world. For the few days left, you can choose a teacher, said the snow cultivator. A few days were left before going to the mysterious world, many strong cultivators were getting ready to leave. The mysterious world was an opportunity that couldn't be missed. Lin Feng would probably have incredible opportunities there. Incredible cultivators from the region would meet there. They had all been getting prepared for such a long time. Even in Tianqi, extremely strong cultivators were getting ready to go. Those from the Tianxian Peak but also the others from the 6 other main peaks of Tianqi, the geniuses selected by Tianqi, were all getting ready. Of course, in the outside world nobody knew that Tianqi had 7 peaks. Only those from Tianqi could know about it. It will soon be time to leave, thought Lin Feng, his eyes were twinkling with sharp lights. In the mysterious world, there would be Duan Wu Dao, Duan Wuya, people from Dragon Mountain, from Jade Heaven, from Shandong and so on. Lin Feng remained silent for a while and then looked at the Zun cultivators. I want to practice alone during these last days. They were surprised when they heard Lin Feng. Another cultivator would have never left them until the very end. However, Lin Feng wanted to practice cultivation alone. It seemed like he possessed high self-confidence when it came to cultivation. "All right," said the snow cultivator while nodding, "you can practice alone, we won't disturb you. When the right time comes, we will call you." Then, the snow cultivator and the 2 others left together while glancing at each other. They stopped watching Lin Feng while he was practicing. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and penetrated into his own world. There were some memories in his head. There was a gigantic desert. There was a gigantic, celestial sword that crashed on the ground and slightly penetrated into it. There were some fissures and cracks. In the air there were millions of sword lights and a terrifying sword chi. There was only one sword, nothing else. Lin Feng had already become so much stronger in terms of sword cultivation. However, in that world he couldn't help but be continuously amazed. That sword had its own life. It was calmly lying there and could make the world and the sky change. Such a terrifying sword didn't need to be created or released, it was just there and Lin Feng could observe and analyze it. Unconsciously, Lin Feng released some terrifying sword chi which became stronger and stronger. Lin Feng was extremely focused while observing that sword. It seemed like he had forgotten everything around him. He didn't know what was happening outside anymore. He was only focusing on that sword. Gradually, Lin Feng started having hallucinations. His entire body gradually started turning into a sword which could destroy the earth. Lin Feng wasn't a human being anymore, he was a sword. He was calmly standing there while releasing some terrifying sword chi. A few days passed as the snow and fire cultivators were playing chess. Jian Fengzi was aside and his eyes were closed, as if the other's chess game had nothing to do with him. "Mr. Shui, is it time to go to the mysterious world?" It would be good for Lin Feng to improve his cultivation level even more. At that moment some whistling sounds spread in the air, just like those of a sword. Those who were playing chess were surprised as they looked down at the valley. There was a very strong sword chi rising up in the air. The sword cultivator opened his eyes and slowly stood up before gazing into the distance. "Brother, after all those years I have never seen Jian Fengzi care about anything," said the fire cultivator looking pensive. He then continued playing chess. "If I were incompetent, Fengzi wouldn't be so obsessed by strength," said the snow cultivator while shaking his head. He looked a bit saddened. The sword cultivator was the youngest of them. He had joined their group after a while. Even though he was the youngest one, he was also the strongest because he had a very strong willpower, intent, and incredible natural abilities. "Brother, no need to feel guilty. We all understand that you are acting in the interest of Tianxian. You are not weaker than Fengzi. Back when our teacher was there, Tianxian was the strongest of the 7 peaks. After he left to travel in the continent, no news came back, so Tianxian started fading a little. However, now we have been able to attract some geniuses and we even came across Lin Feng. It was the first time you came and introduced him to me. I didn't care because I thought he wasn't the one we were looking for. But now," said the fire cultivator. He then continued, "But now, Lin Feng could become a deep vein in Tianxian, he could become important here. Fengzi probably thinks the same way as me. Back then, his best disciple became a part of Tian Xian and he is extremely happy. No, said the snow cultivator. The fire cultivator was surprised and asked, you don't agree with me? The snow cultivator was staring at the fire cultivator and replied, I hope that Lin Feng can become a high-ranking official in the empire of Tianqi. I hope that he can become the only spokesperson of the snowy mountain of Tianqi. The fire cultivator shivered when he heard him. He wanted Lin Feng to become a spokesperson. If Lin Feng became a spokesperson, that would be incredible. But it was easier said than done. The sword cultivator didn't listen to their discussion, he just watched Lin Feng in the valley. At that moment Lin Feng was surrounded by a terrifying sword qi and intent. He was borrowing some strength from the earth too. Some more fire, said the sword cultivator. Then Lin Feng started shaking, he had the impression that he was going to suffocate in his world with so many swords. Destroy everything, nothing can block you, swords are holy. They can slaughter everything, said the sword cultivator. Words which resonated in Lin Feng's heart, swords could annihilate everything. At that moment, Lin Feng had nothing in his way to prevent him from becoming stronger. He could lacerate the sky. Break! The sword cultivator shouted extremely loudly, resonating in Lin Feng's brain. Break, break, break. That word was resonating in Lin Feng's brain and heart like a drumbeat. A terrifying sword energy dashed to the skies, and his sword intent level seemed like it was going to explode. Sword intent level 6. The Zun cultivator was blankly staring at Lin Feng. The two other silhouettes flickered and they arrived next to Feng Zi. They were all staring at Lin Feng. His sword intent level increased, the two Zun cultivators were stupefied. Lin Feng had just practiced a few days, had wanted to practice alone because he was filled with self-confidence. And now he had managed to do it, his sword intent was now level 6. He had made progress. His strength was terrifying. With that, Lin Feng will surprise many people in the mysterious world, thought the three Zun cultivators. They were getting even more impatient to see Lin Feng in the mysterious world. They were all impatient to see how Lin Feng would be in the future. Chapter 760, Shut Up. Lin Feng opened his eyes, he had a radiant smile on his face. His sword intent was now level 6. As expected, he was much stronger. He stood up and looked at Jian Feng Zi. Then he bowed and said, "Thank you, teacher." He knew that a moment before, Jian Feng Zi had helped him become stronger. Jian Feng Zi's voice had resonated in his heart and brain. It had mixed with his sword qi and had helped him break the limits of the 5th level. The strength of a Zun cultivator was incredible, he didn't need to move but could still help him. The Zun cultivator's intent level was incredible. Lin Feng couldn't imagine how high their intent levels were. Zun cultivators were the best cultivators in an empire of middle quality. Anywhere in such an empire, they were respected by others and even worshipped. Zun cultivators could annihilate an empire of middle quality using only one hand. In a tiny little country such as Shuiyu, it was extremely rare to see Zun cultivators. If there was one crossing the country, nobody even knew about it. No need to thank me. If you were not smart, I wouldn't have been able to help you. Besides, helping you doesn't cost me anything, so no need to mention it, said the sword cultivator smiling. Lin Feng hadn't even broken through to the Tian Qi layer but his sword intent was already level 6. Lin Feng would be terrifying after breaking through to the Tian Qi layer. The higher a cultivator's cultivation level was, the more difficult it was to find opponents. The difference between the different cultivation layers was ever increasing. Besides, understanding intent was increasingly more important as their cultivation level increased. They could injure or even kill people easily by better understanding intent. Lin Feng, it's good that your sword intent is now level 6. It is time to go to the mysterious world. I have to remind you that the mysterious world isn't a normal place, maybe that place is the palace of the emperors. Maybe it is the tomb of the emperors. In order to become an emperor, one must have reached cultivation emperor level. Nobody is stronger than a cultivation emperor. A cultivation emperor has Zun cultivators as subordinates. One shout and they can make the earth and sky change. Tian cultivators are their slaves. Now, even though there are some great treasures there, you cannot neglect the dangers and perils. You have to be extremely careful there. Even if there are incredible treasures, don't risk your life for them. Your life is the most important thing, said the snow cultivator in a solemn way. He was really worried about Lin Feng. Even a Zun cultivator in front of a cultivation emperor, also known as a Huang cultivator, was insignificant. According to the rumors, in the world there was one Huang cultivator known and it was said that he had died already. But for him that was only a small limitation, only a restriction. He could still annihilate an infinity of Tian cultivators, and even Xian cultivators. In front of a Huang cultivator, they were all like tiny and insignificant objects. People had heard that in the holy city, there was a myriad of Tian and Zun cultivators who wanted to become his students. They wanted to become students of the Huang cultivator. Each and every single one of his students was admired and worshipped. They were all extremely strong and talented. Many of them had never even seen the Huang cultivator in person. They were just some of the Huang cultivator's students. That was a social status. It was already an honor just to have that social status. It was an incredible glory and an extraordinary achievement in one's entire life if they were taught by the Huang cultivator in person. I understand, said Lin Feng, feeling happy that the snow cultivator was worried about him. 3 Zun cultivators had been teaching him. Lin Feng could only be grateful. He had never thought that such a thing would happen in his life. Sometimes, Lin Feng was wondering if he wasn't like a luck vampire, taking his family members' and friends' luck. He was always so lucky while people around him were usually not. Good, then get ready to go to the snow palace, said the snow cultivator. He moved his hand and a snow rug appeared in the air. Lin Feng jumped on it. Lin Feng, take care, said the fire cultivator. The sword cultivator was impatient to see how Lin Feng would evolve in the future, but he said nothing. Those 3 Zun cultivators appreciated Lin Feng a lot. Lin Feng then bowed in front of the 2 cultivators who were remaining there and jumped onto the snow rug next to the snow cultivator. Snowflakes were floating around in the air. In a flash, they arrived back where the snow cultivator lived. Tang Yu saw Lin Feng and smiled. She had completely recovered. Besides, the Zun cultivator had taught her some things. Her cultivation level was at the very top of the 8th Xian Qi layer and she was about to break through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. Xue Ling Long ran on the ground and jumped up in the air. Lin Feng hadn't even landed before she was in Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng smiled in a warm and gentle way while petting her. He then nodded at Tang Yu. Did you recover? Asked Lin Feng. He was worried about her and it was showing. I completely recovered, said Tang Yu while releasing some qi. There was absolutely no problem, her qi wasn't weak anymore. Lin Feng felt relieved. Mister, let's go, said Lin Feng to the snow cultivator. All right. We need to pick up the 6 others and then we'll go to the snow palace together, said the snow cultivator nodding. He had already told the hunter to have the 6 others gather where the hunter lived. The hunter lived at the place where the 8 geniuses had gathered for the first time, in the snowy mountains. There were Bai Li Shi, Han Qiuyu, Bai Luo and Huang Quan. With them were also their teachers. The teachers were impatient to see what kind of geniuses their mountain, the Tian Xian mountain, had chosen. They also wanted to say goodbye to their students. After having spent 1 month with those geniuses, they could be considered their teachers. Bai Li Shi's teacher, Shueli Jian, looked at Chun Yang and was surprised. It seemed like that Han Qiuyu was much stronger than Bai Li Shi. Otherwise, the hunter wouldn't have chosen Chun Yang as a teacher for him. The Tian cultivators behind Bai Luo and Huang Quan also looked at Chun Yang. Han Qiu also noticed that his teacher was the stronger one. Amongst those 4 people, Bai Li Shi is the second strongest. If we count Tian Qi Shui, he's the third. I wonder how strong the 3 others are. It seems like this time the selected geniuses are quite strong, thought Shui Li Jian. Some sound spread in the air. Tian Qi Shui was flying through the sky wearing snowy white clothes and she looked extremely beautiful. However, she looked upset. Little Shui, why are you not waiting for me? Asked Huang Fulong, sounding simple-minded and silly. He was running after her. Tian Qi Shui was gnashing her teeth. They had been practicing cultivation together for a month now and she had suffered from all sorts of torments because of him. He had only been shameless, he said every day that she would be his future wife. On top of that, he had called her honey or darling many times. Tian Qi Shui felt like she was going to explode. Everybody was surprised. Was that simple-minded young man was one of the 8 geniuses? Stay away from me. At least 100 meters away, said Tian Qi Shui when she saw that Huang Fulong was getting nearer. Huang Fulong smiled in a silly way and said, all right, anyways, everything will be all right as soon as your heart and my heart are connected. Tian Qi Shui almost fainted when she heard that. This guy was really shameless. Little Shui, who's that? Asked Chun Yang smiling. Apparently, he knew Tian Qi Shui. I don't know him, said Tian Qi Shui in an indifferent way. Mister, my name is Huang Fulong, but you can call me Da Hai Chong. I am Little Shui's future husband, said Huang Fulong giggling. Chun Yang frowned and then smiled. That guy was funny, but he must have been quite smart too because he had managed to get the same teacher as Tian Qi Shui. In the distance, there were 3 silhouettes flying on a snow rug through the air. Amongst them was a young man and a small animal. The Tian-level teachers were astonished when they saw them, then they immediately looked at Lin Feng and Tang Yu in a deep and meaningful way. Shui Li Jian smiled wryly. The hunter had given him Bai Li Shi. He was only stronger than the twins Bai Luo and Huang Quan. The others were all stronger than Bai Li Shi, and the 2 people who were arriving at that moment had even received Zun-level teachers. A sword cultivator. Why would he be with a snow cultivator? Said Bai Li Shi mockingly when he saw Lin Feng. Shut up, said Shui Li Jian while glaring at Bai Li Shi furiously. Bai Li Shi was astonished. Then he saw the Tian-level teachers move away and bow respectfully in front of the snow cultivator who was arriving. Then they said in unison, Mr. Shui, dear and venerable Zun cultivator. Chapter 761, The Battle in the Snow Palace, Zun Cultivator. Bai Li Shi was about to collapse. He had the feeling that his entire body was freezing, he couldn't move. A Zun cultivator was with Lin Feng. A real Zun cultivator. His teacher and the other teachers even bowed respectfully in front of him. They worshipped the Zun cultivator. And the worst thing was that a moment before, he had been making fun of Lin Feng because a snow cultivator was teaching him, even though he was a sword cultivator. However, he could only admire that Zun cultivator, he was also afraid of him. And he was terribly jealous of Lin Feng. Why had Lin Feng obtained a Zun-level teacher? His teacher had only broken through to the 3rd Tian Qi layer. Was he really that far from Lin Feng? Hello, said the snow cultivator, nodding and glancing at the crowd. He even glanced at Bai Li Shi but didn't pay much attention to him. Bai Li Shi had the impression that he was going to freeze. How cold, very cold. The snow cultivator only glanced at him for a second as if Bai Li Shi didn't even exist. Maybe the ice-cold expression in the Zun cultivator's eyes was due to the fact that he was a snow cultivator. Apart from Bai Li Shi who was jealous, the others were also astonished. Tian Qi Shui's heart was pounding. The dear and respectable Zun cultivator Mr. Shui, surprisingly had been chosen to be Lin Feng's teacher. How incredible! Such incredible opportunities were usually only for her Tian Qi Shui in the district of the Tian Shan Mountain. But now, Lin Feng also had such an opportunity. She was astonished and one could see it from her beautiful eyes. She could still remember how Lin Feng had remained cold and indifferent, even proud in front of her. She felt uneasy, she had never seen a man feel so indifferent and even cold in front of her. It seemed like Lin Feng had never cared about her. "Teacher," said the hunter while walking towards to the snow cultivator and bowing. "Is everybody here?" asked the snow cultivator to the hunter. The hunter nodded and said, "Indeed, teacher, they are all here." "All right," the snow cultivator was glancing at the crowd again. Then he said, "Everybody, maybe you are not familiar with the snowy mountains of Tianqi. Let me explain some things to you, very briefly. The snowy mountains of Tianqi are divided into 7 big snowy mountains. The snowy mountains of Tianqi have some rules. When you are in the outside world you are like one, you represent the snowy mountains of Tianqi. Tianqi was divided into 7 snowy peaks. It seems like they only knew a small part of the truth. An empire of middle quality was incredible and mysterious, it was impossible for common people to understand how strong it really was. I am telling you this because you have to understand that apart from you 8, the other snowy mountains will also send 8 geniuses, and they will go to the mysterious world with you. There might be some tensions between you guys, but I am warning you, you are not allowed to fight against each other. Do you understand?" "Understood. I understand." Everybody nodded one after the other. It seemed like what they thought before was completely wrong. They had thought that only 8 of them would go to the mysterious world. They had thought that they were the only 8 geniuses of the empire. However, there were actually 48 other people who were going to go with them. In total, there were going to be 56 people. And they were all going to represent the Tianqi Empire. What a terrifying number of people to represent an empire. But there were going to be so many treasures in the mysterious world that sending so many people was probably worth it. "Bring them to the snow palace," said the snow cultivator to the hunter. He nodded and told the geniuses, "Follow me." Then, they all started running in the snowy immensity. The 8 silhouettes were flying in the air together, closely following the hunter. Apart from Tianqi Shui, nobody knew what the snow palace was. They traveled in the sky for an hour and then arrived in front of a gigantic snow palace. Everybody was shivering, Tianqi seemed to be really gigantic. Besides, they had just understood how incredible those 7 snowy Tianqi mountains were. On the way they had seen a few gigantic mountains, and at some point they had seen a mountain which was really high, much higher than the others. It looked majestic and domineering. "That is the 7th mountain, the Tianqi mountain," said the hunter to the crowd. He then jumped forwards and landed on that mountain. At the very top of the mountain was the snow palace. The 8 geniuses were climbing the mountain, they had climbed half of the mountain so far. There were many snow palaces. The Tianxian snowy mountain looked small and miserable compared to the Tianji snowy mountain. Many people sighed with exasperation. Tianji really deserved to be called the king of the Tianqi mountains. The Tianji mountain peak was a huge and vast piece of snowy land without any footprint. In the distance was a gigantic palace which looked majestic, grandiose, magnificent. It made people want to prostrate themselves before it with respect and pay homage to its creators. The hunter slowly brought the geniuses to the top of the mountain. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the snowflakes floating in the air. He had the impression that if he raised his hand, he would be able to touch the sky. Practicing cultivation in such a place would give any cultivator the feeling of practicing in outer space, giving birth to heroic feelings in their heart. They realized that several people had arrived already. They also realized that those people were divided into groups. Those were probably groups formed by the 6 other snowy mountains where they came from. They were all wearing different sorts of clothes depending on the mountain where they were from. There were stars on their clothes too, which enabled others to know which mountain they were from. The crowd turned to greet Tianxian as they arrived. They were a bit surprised at first and then they looked at them in a mocking way. People from Tianxian really are the weakest, their reputation is definitely honest. They don't deserve to be with us. What will the other empires think of us if we accept such people, said someone mockingly. The 8 geniuses of Tianxian were upset, they couldn't believe that someone would humiliate them immediately after arriving. Shut up, said Tian Chi Shui loudly. Many people considered Tian Chi Shui as a goddess, but she was considered as a goddess only in the region O Tianxian Snowy Mountain. Even the seniors of Tianxian considered her as the best young cultivator, but outside of her region she was a nobody. People just assumed that she was simply representing Tianxian, nothing special. Tian Chi Shui is prestigious in Tianxian, however, was what I just said wrong? Don't forget that cultivators from Tianxian are the weakest, that's why you get bullied by the others. Maybe Tianxian hasn't taught you enough, said the same person mockingly. Many people started laughing when they heard him. They all despised Tianxian. In the past, Tianxian was respected and admired, but then some incredible ancestors disappeared from Tianxian and it started falling in popularity. Until it became the weakest group of Tian Chi, then it became the subject of various jokes and the 6 other groups were constantly making fun of them. Your mouth is filthy, said Tian Chi Shui jumping forwards. In a flash, a terrifyingly cold ice chi spread in the air and rolled towards that person. It contained some ice and snow intent which started freezing that individual. Tian Chi Shui, this is the snow palace, said someone moving in front of the one who had just made fun of them. That person released a terrifying chi which moved straight towards Tian Chi Shui's ice chi and stopped it. Move, said Tian Chi Shui while attacking the one in front of her, she was furious. Immediately after she used an ice punch attack. Battles were also a way of comparing the strength of the various snowy mountains. Get lost, said that person while jumping with strength. Snowflakes started flying in a flurry and that person used another ice punch. Rumbling sounds were spreading in the air, Tian Chi Shui was sent flying, her face looked even colder. Hee, can you see now Tian Chi Shui? The leader of Tian Shu, Ling Shui, is very strong. You could be married with him, you wouldn't be able to find anyone better in Tianxian anyway, said someone behind them. Chapter 762, Finger Threat. Tian Chi Shui looked even colder, the people from Tian Shu were really going too far. Yes, Tian Chi Shui, Ling Xie is the strongest young man of Tian Shu. But we're not like Tianxian where, apart from you, nobody dares attack. You should get married with Ling Xie and join Tian Shu, continued the same person. They only were saying this after seeing how weak the people from Tian Shu were. Asshole, swore someone, astonishing the entire crowd. Then they saw someone behind Tian Chi Shui, Huang Fu Long was the one who had just cursed. Huang Fu Long made huge steps forwards, flames of fury were burning in his eyes. He was staring at the people from Tian Shu and said, Tian Chi Shui is my wife. Tian Chi Shui was surprised and glared at him. That bastard. De Hai Chong, you are the weakest of us 8. Ling Xie is the leader of Tian Shu. Go and have a try with him, said Tian Chi Shui. Even though she wanted to insult him, she knew that he was extremely strong. He had a monumental physical strength and his dragon fist was terrifying. All right, said Huang Fu Long. He immediately ran forwards at Ling Xie, making him feel uncomfortable. Huang Fu Long looked like a terrifying dragon at that moment. I will crush anyone that dares humiliate my wife, shouted Huang Fu Long extremely loudly. He then continued running forwards with some terrifying force in his hands, oppressing Ling Xie's body. Whistling sounds spread in the air and the chant of the dragon started resonating. The crowd was stupefied. Huang Fu Long looked like a dragon suddenly. Ha! Ling Xie frowned and his long hair started fluttering violently with his clothes. Huang Fu Long's force was impressive. Ling Xie frowned and moved back, but then he stopped. How could he retreat in front of so many people? As the leader of Tian Shu, could he move back? Piss off, shouted Ling Xie furiously, and a fist launched out at Huang Fu Long roar. A terrifying dragon roar emerged out of Huang Fu Long's body. That sound came from Huang Fu Long's terrifying force. It was brutal and violent, it seemed like it could crush anything. Boom boom boom. The two fists collided and the crowd sensed a terrifying hurricane brush away on their skin. Some crackling sound spread in the air as the crowd saw the leader of Tian Shu slide backwards in the snow. Arf ha! Then the crowd heard a terrifying and furious shout which resonated in their heads. The crowd was looking at Huang Fu Long, who was surprising everyone. That guy had a terrifying strength, his blood and muscles seemed really strong. Humph, so that is the leader of Tian Shu. Nobody can defeat us, Tian Xian. You cannot even defeat the weakest genius of Tian Xian. You're quite shameless, said Tian Chi Shui coldly, upsetting the geniuses of Tian Shu. However, Huang Fu Long had attacked a bit hastily, Ling Xie didn't have enough time to react properly. Although unfair, he had still managed to make him move back, leaving everyone speechless. Huang Fu Long was smiling like an idiot. He scratched his head and said, "Indeed, the leader of Tian Shu is nothing special at all." Sir. Ling Xie coughed up some blood when he heard Huang Fu Long. Indeed, Huang Fu Long's violent and brutal attack had injured him, he had been too careless. There would have been no problems if he had chosen to move back, but he was the leader of Tian Shu. He would have lost face if he had retreated. All he could do was suffer in silence now. Is that so? Since he is the weakest of Tian Xian, I want to see and test someone else's strength, said the first one who had joked about Tian Chi Shui. His face looked hideous. Huang Fu Long's strength was terrifying, he was probably the strongest one. The one who had joked didn't believe that they were honest about Huang Fu Long. He glanced at the crowd from Tian Xian and eventually noticed Lin Feng. Lin Feng had broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer, but he looked a bit weak. Besides, his qi wasn't that impressive, he had probably just broke through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. Fighting against people who had just broken through to the next cultivation layer was easy because their cultivation wasn't stable yet. You want to fight against Lin Feng, mocked Huang Fu Long. He shouldn't have talked, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut because the other one was staring at Lin Feng. Besides, he was smiling mockingly. Lin Feng was almost as strong as him, choosing him would make no difference. Tian Chi Shui was speechless, she was happy about that guy's choice. Get ready. I will attack you. We, people of Tian Shu, are not like you. If we want to fight, we challenge people without surprise attacks, said that person mockingly. He was referring to the fact that Huang Fu Long had attacked a bit too suddenly. I am also the weakest person of Tian Shu, let's see how strong people of Tian Xian are, said that person. He jumped forwards and rumbling sounds spread in the air. There was a terrifying physical strength emerging from his fist, as well as some ice intent which was blowing on Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng looked at the opponent coldly, slowly raised his hand, actually just one finger. A terrifying sword energy was in that finger, but because of the pressure, his sharp qi was being constricted. Get lost, shouted the opponent loudly. A terrifying physical strength made the ground shake. Lin Feng raised his finger and a terrifying sword intent emerged from it. People could sense it all over their bodies. Sir. Sir. Lin Feng moved his finger towards the enemy's fist and they crashed into each other. Ah! The opponent emitted a blood-curdling shriek. He immediately withdrew his fist and moved back to his initial position. He couldn't stand the pressure. He was blowing on his fist to try and alleviate the pain, cold sweat was flowing on his forehead. Drip, drip. 2 threads of blood were dripping on the white snow. It was an incredible scene. People raised their heads and looked at Lin Feng. That young man who had remained silent was extremely impressive. He had used a single finger to crush his opponent's fist, and even injured him. "You really are weak," said Lin Feng, making the other person extremely angry. His cheeks were burning with humiliation. People from Tianshu were all depressed. Their leader had been projected backwards, then another one had been defeated and injured by one finger. The Tianshu group had lost a great deal of face. "It seems like the Tianxian group contains some pretty good cultivator," thought some people from the other snowy mountains. They didn't look at them mockingly anymore. Being strong was the only way to be respected. In the world of cultivation, strength was the most important thing. "Interesting, it seems like the Tianxian group is quite good," said someone wearing purple clothes while moving forwards. People who belonged to the Tianji group wore purple clothes. "I wonder how many of those people will come back alive," said the person sounding arrogant and proud. Tianchi Shui glanced at that person but she said nothing. The one who was talking was the leader of the Tianji group, Yu Tianji. He knew some secrets of the universe. Yu Tianji held the greatest potential in the Tianji group. He would be able to climb the hierarchy in the future and would be respected by everybody. Chapter 763, For the Empire. Lin Feng looked at that young man in purple. Those who were from the Tianji group were at the very front and seemed very arrogant. Yu Tianji looked particularly arrogant and proud, more than the others. It seemed that the cultivators of the Tianji group respected him a lot. He was also a sort of leader in their group, just like Ling Xie in Tianshu. Besides, he seemed to be even more respected than Ling Xie. Tianji, some people were glaring at the people from Tianji, but others were looking at them respectfully and maybe enviously. They wished they could be part of the Tianji group. They wished they could be arrogant and proud, rather than being a member of Tianxian and being humiliated by others. Bai Li Shi was one of those thinking that way. Those from the Tianxian group are not bad this time, but Tianxian is still too weak. "If you are not resigned to give up, we will get very angry and crush you," said Yu Tianji indifferently. He sounded way too pompous. Maybe he would climb up in the hierarchy in Tianqi later, so he was practicing acting like a great leader. But Yu Tianji's tone of speech annoyed Lin Feng. Most people were looking at Yu Tianji as if he had been a real leader, so they were convinced that his words were holy and undeniable. However, Lin Feng didn't see anyone as a leader. Everyone was equal before him. The students of Tianqi were all equal. Even if Tianji was a strong group, it didn't give them the right to humiliate others. Students who belong to the Tianji group have the same status as anyone else. Surprisingly, some people still think that it's normal to consider themselves as leaders. How servile. And yet some people are willing to accept such idiocies, said Lin Feng indifferently. Lin Feng was making fun of the servility of some people. How audacious. Did he think that he was so terrific because he had defeated someone who belonged to the Tianshu group? Yu Tianji frowned. He was staring back at Lin Feng as if he had been trying to see through him. Huh. Lin Feng frowned and he also stared at Yu Tianji aggressively. The lights twinkling in Lin Feng's eyes were so dazzling that Yu Tianji had to close his eyes. Humph. Lin Feng groaned coldly when he stared at Yu Tianji. Yu Tianji was trying to use a special skill to see through Lin Feng, see his special techniques and skills. However, that required a stronger soul than Lin Feng. But it was almost impossible for anyone at the same level as Lin Feng to compete with him. Lin Feng just had to glare at Yu Tianji in an aggressive way to make him stop. Yu Tianji quickly opened his eyes again and continued staring at Lin Feng. You broke it. This is the first time that someone at the same level as me managed to break my special clairvoyance skill. I only managed to see that his sword intent was level 4, it stopped increasing after. He might possess a level 5 sword intent. I can't see clearly. That guy is really strong. It seems like he should be considered as the leader of the Tianxian group. He is much stronger than Tianqi Shui. This time, we will go to the mysterious world together, thought Yu Tianji, staring at Lin Feng. After groaning again, Yu Tianji turned back to the crowd and said, "We're going to the mysterious world, so let's spare no effort." Yu Tianji didn't add anything more. He was considering the fact that Lin Feng was so much stronger than Tianqi Shui. He was probably able to compete with all the strongest cultivators from the other snowy mountains. But the crowd was thinking something else. Yu Tianji had suddenly changed the topic while looking at Lin Feng. Was he simply going to let Lin Feng off without doing anything? Only Lin Feng had a definite idea of what that meant. Yu Tianji's glance had given him a clue. He wasn't going to let him off. He probably wanted to surprise attack him some other time. However, it wasn't possible at the Snow Palace. Some small tensions were allowed, but fighting fiercely in front of the elders wasn't suggested. The hunter was calmly observing the scene. Tianqi was divided into 7 mountains and they had never prevented the geniuses from confronting each other. Only by going through such frictions could they become adults. That was precisely how geniuses stood out and became respected. Tianqi wasn't the only one with this mindset, the greatest sects and clans were all like this. There were always tensions between people in the cultivation world. Places entirely dedicated to cultivation had to be at the center of fights and tensions. This time, Tianxian will not get bullied so easily, thought the hunter, feeling relieved. They would remain proud and protect their dignity. Tianqi Shui, Huang Fulong, Han Qiu Yu were all very strong. They didn't fear anyone else. Besides, there was someone who could resist the so-called leaders from the other groups. Just like Yu Tianji had guessed, Lin Feng was their unofficial leader. Gong. The sound of a solemn and majestic bell spread in the air. Someone slowly came out of the Snow Palace wearing a purple changpao. That was a senior cultivator of the Tianji group. He had extremely long white hair, his beard was long and went down to the chest. He looked like a celestial being, majestic and domineering. "Is everyone here?" asked the person indifferently. He hadn't spoken loudly, but his voice had clearly penetrated into people's thoughts. Those who had brought the different groups to the Snow Palace all bowed and said, "They are all here." "All right," said the old man, glancing around at the crowd. He was looking over the 56 young people, and nodded with satisfaction. Tianqi doesn't prevent you from fighting against each other because battles and tensions help you maintain your ardor and keep you hot-blooded. You become stronger in your heart when you argue. Tianqi is divided into 7 groups, so it is normal that tensions appear. No matter how you fight, there will be no consequences. But I have to remind you, this time you're going to the mysterious world and Tianqi will not be the only group to send people there. There will be other people from the region of Ganyu. There will be some terrifying geniuses there and none of them will be weaker than you. Therefore, I hope that you will not fight against each other in the mysterious world. You must forget about the small tensions existing between you," said the old man slowly. "Am I clear?" "Understood," said everyone, nodding. The old man nodded and put his right hand on his chest. Then he slightly bowed and said in a solemn way, "Everything for the Tianqi Empire." The crowd did the same. Everybody put their right hand on their heart, bowed and said, "Everything for the Tianqi Empire. Everything for the Tianqi Empire." Gong. The calm and solemn sound of a bell resonated in the air again. That bell was ringing to remind people that they were missionaries of Tianqi. Everything was for the Tianqi Empire. No matter how serious the inner tensions were, people had to remember that their ultimate goal was to make the empire stronger. They were a big family, the empire supported them and they supported the empire, that was why the Tianqi Empire was such a strong empire. The solemn and relieving sound of the bell resonated in Lin Feng's head. He also raised his right hand and put it on his chest while saying, "Everything for the Tianqi Empire." The excitement of being a missionary was improving his determination and willpower even further. He felt like he belonged to a cohesive group. The sense of belonging to a group was influencing everybody in a positive way. That sense of belonging was penetrating deeply into their souls. Everybody felt like they were brothers and sisters, they had to maintain the cohesion to remain strong together. The old man with the white beard glanced at Lin Feng and smiled. He had noticed that Lin Feng was different from the others, but at that moment, Lin Feng was accepting to become a part of that big family. He was letting that cohesive force influence his heart. He had accepted Tian Qi and participated with mindset of improving the empire. That way the Tian Qi empire would engulf more and more geniuses. Chapter 764, Taboo. The old man with the white beard looked around and said, "All right, you're the most outstanding geniuses of Tian Qi, get ready to go on a journey." The crowd looked at him respectfully. They were finally going to traverse the mysterious world. Many of them had been preparing for such a long time. This time, they were going on an adventure, a journey. That journey was going to be filled with dangers and opportunities. Afterward, they would come back to Tian Qi as heroes. They might even come back with more determination and with great treasures. However, they might never come. Their bodies would slowly decompose in the mysterious world. This might be their last chance to see these snowy mountains. However, everybody looked determined to give it a try. Nobody was going to stutter, they had chosen this path. Since they had chosen to become strong cultivators, they had to walk forwards with indomitable will. Death and dangers were part of that journey. Strong cultivators had to face dangers bravely, there was no space for cowards on the path of cultivation. The old man, called Mr. Baisu. Then he slowly raised his head to the sky, raised his hand, and in a flash a terrifying quantity of snow energy started rotating in the sky. Ioa. A few sounds spread in the air off in the distance. The snowflakes suddenly turned into a vortex as whistling sounds spread in the air. Bestial Qi. Lin Feng was stupefied, there was bestial Qi in the air. He raised his head and saw 7 snowy white beasts in the sky. They had gigantic wings which created hurricanes as they clapped. Those 7 beasts were eagles, and they were glancing at the crowd on the ground. Their eyes looked like those of beasts, but at the same time revealed the intelligence of wise beings. "Snow eagles, come down," said Mr. Baisu indifferently. Then the 7 beasts came down from the sky and disappeared. They had transformed into human beings. Those were Tian-level beasts that could transform into human beings. However, those beasts had chosen the half-transformation option, where they keep their 2 forms instead of turning into authentic human beings. Those snow eagles still had their wings projecting from their back when they transformed into humans. "The snow eagles will bring you to the mysterious world," said Mr. Baisu. The 7 snow eagles made a line and turned into eagles again. Then they crouched down and waited for the cultivators to jump onto their backs. "Go," said Mr. Baisu. The crowd bowed and then jumped onto the backs of the eagles. Each group had their own eagle. Clap, clap, clap. The snow eagles clapped their wings and a strong wind started blowing again. The 7 white eagles then rose up in the air and reached the clouds. "We're off," thought Lin Feng while looking at the ground. Some people were looking up at them excited. The snow eagles flew even faster as they went off into the distance. "Surprisingly, nobody else is coming with us," thought Lin Feng. There were only the 56 geniuses and the 7 beasts. Nobody else was accompanying them while they were flying. But he quickly forgot about it, Lin Feng wasn't going to focus on the small things. Tian Qi had its own policies and ways of doing things, in any case, nothing could happen to them. "Are you cold?" asked Lin Feng to Xue Ling Long in a low voice. The wind was extremely strong and they were very high in the air. Besides, the speed of Tian-level beasts was incredible. Xue Ling Long's small paws were on Lin Feng's chest and she slightly shook her head. She looked delighted, one could see it from her eyes. She didn't look sad to be a beast again, she could stay in Lin Feng's arms all the time. Actually, the happy expression in her eyes was even more resplendent than in the past. Even though she was small, Lin Feng's pure qi was surrounding her body to prevent any sufferings from the strong winds. Being in Lin Feng's arms gave birth to warm, sweet and tender feelings in her heart. "Isn't it only a beast?" asked someone indifferently yet mockingly. He slowly turned his head and looked at Bai Li Shi. He was just looking at the landscape below them, he was pretending that he had never said anything. "Who are you talking to?" asked Lin Feng coldly. He was glaring at Bai Li Shi, who was only a few steps in front of him. Lin Feng's eyes looked as sharp as swords. Bai Li Shi remained silent as if he hadn't heard Lin Feng. He was previously paying attention to Lin Feng back when he heard Lin Feng talking to a beast as if he had been talking to his wife or his girlfriend. He couldn't help but take a jab. However, he regretted it when he remembered how Lin Feng had defeated and injured the strong cultivator of Tian Shu. Now he was ignoring Lin Feng, hoping that he would forget about it. "I am asking you a question," shouted Lin Feng furiously, his voice made Bai Li Shi's heart shake. Even if he wanted to escape, it was impossible on these birds. Bai Li Shi turned his head and looked at Lin Feng, scared. "Lin Feng, don't forget the purpose of our trip," said Tian Chi Shui when she saw that Lin Feng was furious. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Tian Chi Shui. He slightly opened his mouth, showing his teeth as he said, "You, shut the hell up." Tian Chi Shui was speechless. Lin Feng was releasing a scary ice-cold energy, he looked extremely furious. Nobody could humiliate Meng Qing, no matter who they were. Tian Chi Shui looked at Huang Fu Long, he was lying down and his eyes were closed. It was as if he had heard nor seen anything. "Lin Feng, you're really going too far." "It's only a wild beast, isn't it?" asked Bai Li Shi. At the very second he finished the last word of his sentence, he saw Lin Feng arrive next to him and a terrifying oppressive energy surrounded his body. Bai Li Shi raised his hand to block, but he just heard the sound of some cracking bones. A terrifying coldness invaded his entire body and he couldn't breathe anymore. He couldn't even gulp down, his eyes seemed like they were going to burst out of their orbits. All of this because Lin Feng had grabbed him by the throat and was slowly raising him up in the air. Huang Fu Long slowly opened his eyes, the 6 others were looking at Lin Feng and shivering. That guy was really scary when he was angry. He didn't care about giving face to anyone. Bai Li Shi was a genius, but he was a weakling in front of Lin Feng. Talking about that beast is taboo. Lin Feng cares about it a lot, everyone was understanding. Bai Li Shi grabbed Lin Feng's hand with his hands and tried pry him off, his eyes were bloodshot and his face was red. Flames of fury were burning in Lin Feng's eyes. "This time, I will let you off. However, if you dare offend me again, even if it means making Tian Chi furious, I will kill you," said Lin Feng coldly. He particularly stressed the word, kill. The atmosphere cold and people were all shivering, they could sense Lin Feng's murderous intentions. He wasn't threatening Bai Li Shi, he was making him a promise. Chapter 765, Terrifying Beast. Qi. Lin Feng slowly loosened the pressure and dropped Bai Li Shi on the back of the beast. Bai Li Shi's face was still red and he looked furious. He wished that Lin Feng would die. However, he could do nothing but stare back at Lin Feng. He could still sense a scary coldness in his body. Lin Feng was really strong, he could easily kill people like Bai Li Shi. There were great differences between the geniuses. Bai Li Shi was a genius, Lin Feng was a genius, but Bai Li Shi would never have the chance to compete with Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced back at Bai Li Shi coldly once again and then returned to his initial position. He then sat down cross-legged and ignored Bai Li Shi. That guy is really arrogant, thought Tian Chi Shui, gnashing her teeth. She was realizing that her pride was being crushed by Lin Feng step by step, just like the first time they met. Han Qiu Yu also looked at Lin Feng as well as at the beast in his arms. He was wondering what their relation was, such a little beast was so important to him. That Bai Li Shi's insignificant joke had made him furious to the extent that he was ready to kill. Lin Feng was brutal, violent and scary. Only Tang Yu understood what connected Lin Feng and that little beast. She was Lin Feng's sweetheart. Lin Feng had turned into a demon because of her, he had almost given up his soul for her. He had drowned himself into a killing frenzy. How deep was their love? She was the most important person in Lin Feng's heart. Tang Yu was certain that if anyone from Tianqi humiliated Meng Qing again they would die. Lin Feng would kill them in front of the strongest cultivators of the empire. Everybody remained silent after that. The snow eagles were flying extremely fast, in one day they could travel across 50,000 kilometers. In a 2-day time frame, the crowd had crossed a myriad of countries and empires. They kept seeing different patterns, cities, and landscapes below them. They had seen some small and insignificant countries, and they had seen some bigger nations. The mysterious world is really far, thought the crowd. The Tian-level beasts were flying extremely fast, and after 2 days they still hadn't arrived. They were just now noticing that they were extremely far from Tianqi. However, the places on the ground all belonged to the Ganyu region. Therefore, they couldn't be that far away. They even saw some places which shared a border with the holy city. Wow. The wind was extremely strong, the turbulences in the clouds woke up all the geniuses. They couldn't keep their eyes closed while practicing cultivation in these conditions. Besides, they were getting close to the mysterious world now. The wind was becoming more and more violent and it seemed like it contained some terrifying bestial energy. Everybody found it difficult to open their eyes now. Who? Shouted an extremely loud voice at that moment. It came from one of the eagles. The pupils of the snow eagles suddenly started flashing with sharp lights. The wind was more and more brutal, the atmosphere suddenly became darker, the snow eagles stopped flying forwards and stopped, their eyes looked ice cold. That beast Qi was becoming more and more powerful. What a terrifying beast Qi! Thought the crowd, eventually realizing that the Qi was bestial Qi. They all looked nervous. How come there was beast Qi in that place? Besides, they had the feeling that they were suffocating. Venerable and respectable sir, may I ask who you are? Asked one of the 7 snow eagles while they all turned into human beings. The geniuses fell down from their backs but they still had the impression that they were suffocating under that beast Qi. Suddenly, they were surrounded by beast Qi, they could even see the surroundings clearly. A Zun beast. The crowd was astonished and shaking. Tian-level beasts were already incredible and revered, but in that place there was a Zun-level beast. How terrifying! A terrifying ice-cold Qi invaded the entire atmosphere, it seemed to contain some snowflakes. Slowly, the wind carried away some snowflakes which fell onto the geniuses. That beast Qi was piercingly cold. Shui Ling Long moved away from Lin Feng's arms and into the air. Her beautiful eyes kept twinkling as if she had realized something. Ha! Lin Feng didn't understand what Meng Qing was doing. She was usually indifferent about what was going on in her surroundings but now she was behaving strangely. Whoosh! Meng Qing flew into that rolling Qi. Lin Feng's pupils shrank. What was wrong with Meng Qing? Lin Feng jumped forwards and followed Meng Qing, he couldn't even see his fingers in that dense bestial Qi. Lin Feng, cried out Tang Yu in alarm. She also jumped in the air and penetrated the bestial Qi. Everybody was astonished, they were crazy. Those 2 people were insane. They were following that snow beast into the bestial Qi. Meng Qing penetrated into the bestial Qi as if it didn't exist in the first place, it couldn't harm her it seemed. Meng Qing, said Lin Feng following her. Then he grabbed Meng Qing and hugged her, she remained staring into the distance. The bestial chi was coming from a black silhouette which appeared in the distance and was coming at them. It was a woman. She seemed to be about 45, her long hair was snowy white and she was wearing a black chong pao. How strong, thought Lin Feng. He had a feeling of insignificance when looking at that a woman. Even more so than when he was with the 3 Zun cultivators in Tian Chi. Apart from looking majestic and domineering, that woman was releasing some terrifying bestial chi. That woman wearing a black chong pao was a ferocious wild beast. Maybe she really was a Zun beast. Meng Qing wiggled out from Lin Feng's arms and flew towards that woman. Lin Feng's pupils shrink. Meng Qing, said Lin Feng, jumping forwards. He wanted to block her, but he heard someone groan coldly, and then he couldn't move. Now, Meng Qing had already arrived in front of that woman. Lin Feng still wanted to struggle forwards, however, he saw the woman lower her head and look at Meng Qing in a warm and gentle way. She didn't look like she wanted to harm Meng Qing. Lin Feng was becoming clear-headed again. Meng Qing is acting strange, she even jumped towards her, she probably knows her, thought Lin Feng. Suddenly, it seemed like he had understood something. He had reacted too hastily because he didn't understand what was happening. Lin Feng stared at them and as expected, it seemed like Meng Qing was very close to the woman. She even put her paws on her face. Then looked at Lin Feng. From her eyes Lin Feng could see that she was happy. Lin Feng felt relieved, it seemed like Meng Qing really knew that woman. Little Shui, why did you do that? Asked the woman while petting Meng Qing. She looked saddened as she said, that animal made you leave the Black Wind Mountain. It's his fault. Chapter 766, The Snow Beast's Tower. Meng Qing emitted some small sounds to the woman. Humph, how could I not get angry, said that beautiful middle-aged woman. At that moment, her beauty was masked by her fury. A moment before, Meng Qing had told her not to get angry. Ling Long, you have to turn into a human being. Why didn't you stay with me and wait until the end of the process? Your celestial chi was affected so badly that now, without a good alchemist to concoct some pills for you, I cannot help you achieve the process, sighed the woman frowning. People were at the origin of the 10,000 things of creation. They were often much more outstanding than beasts, in various fields, for example in alchemy. Beasts which could concoct pills were extremely rare. Meng Qing lowered her head and moaned as if she had been telling a story to the woman. I know, I saw everything that happened in the mirrors. I also saw that you risked your life and were attacked by those damn human beings that interrupted your transformation process. She was sounding colder and colder. She raised her head and looked at Lin Feng, her eyes were twinkling with sharp bestial lights. Lin Feng had the impression that 2 invisible hands were holding him, preventing him from breathing. Boom! A terrifying chi emerged out of the woman's body and Lin Feng had the impression that a gigantic snow beast was moving towards him. Lin Feng, yelled Tang Yu behind him, she looked terrified. She hadn't thought that Shui Ling Long knew such terrifying beasts either. It seemed like they were very close to each other. That snow beast was probably going to attack Lin Feng. Woo woo. Meng Qing kept emitting small sounds at the woman. The woman was holding Meng Qing tightly though, preventing her from moving away. Do you know who I am? Said the snow beast, her voice was terrifying. I don't know, said Lin Feng while shaking his head. The gigantic pressure was painful but he didn't try to resist, that snow beast was probably one of Meng Qing's family members. I am the one who raised Shui Ling Long, said the snow beast coldly. Lin Feng was surprised, Meng Qing had been raised by that woman in the black clothes. Lin Feng struggled to move and managed to bow in front of her in a respectful way. One could see some gratitude in his face. If Meng Qing had been able to talk at that moment, she would have called that woman, Mother. Ling Long is my fairy fox, her blood is extremely strong. I am her protector, said the snow beast sounding even colder. Beasts were often united by a certain cohesion. When they encountered another beast which had strong blood, they protected it. They helped the latter become stronger and stronger, they could even sacrifice themselves for stronger beasts. Even though I protected Xue Linglong, she is like this now because of you. How should I punish you, said the snow beast sounding even colder. Lin Feng was staring at the beast. Lin Feng said, I will definitely help Meng Qing recover. Meng Qing, whispered the beast. That's the name you gave to Linglong. You cannot even protect her, how could you help her recover? What makes you feel so confident? Lin Feng didn't have an answer for the woman, he was speechless. Indeed, he wasn't strong enough so he couldn't refute the statement. Meng Qing had suffered because he wasn't strong enough, therefore others hadn't hesitated to bully her. Lin Feng clenched his fists, all he had at that moment was his determination. Meng Qing doesn't want to come with me, but if you die she will forget about you. I think you should die, said the snow beast darkly. No, Tang Yu looked terrified and kept shaking her head. She was panicking, she couldn't do anything against such strong cultivators. I can't die, said Lin Feng. Are you not afraid of death? Asked the snow beast mockingly. I will not let you take Meng Qing away from me either, said Lin Feng, ignoring what the beast had just said. He started shaking as it seemed that something was moving in his body. It was an evil energy that was starting coming out. I cannot resist against you. You want me to die but I don't want to. I want Meng Qing to stay with me and I want to help her regain her human form, I am ready to do anything to help her, said Lin Feng, releasing some more cold qi. Do you think that you can resist me because you have the evil swords, said the snow beast mockingly. She then opened her mouth and groaned in a terrifying way. Her voice made Lin Feng's body shake violently as sound waves resonated in Lin Feng's brain. All his thoughts were interrupted, he couldn't react, his brain was paralyzed for a moment. And then his entire body was surrounded by an ice-cold qi. Lin Feng was nothing in front of such a monster. A gigantic hand moved towards Lin Feng and some rumbling sound spread in the air. Lin Feng had the feeling that his viscera were exploding and his head was emitting buzzing sounds. Linglong, let's leave. We will find a solution to make you retrieve your human shape, said the woman to Meng Qing. Then Meng Qing said something, there were tears in her eyes. The woman's facial expression kept changing and in the end she just sighed. The snow beast disappeared and the woman glanced at Lin Feng, out of her eyes emerged some lights. Suddenly, a monstrous pain invaded Lin Feng's body, his sleeve was lacerated and blood splashed. A beam of light spread in the air, Lin Feng had the impression that something had connected to his brain. But he was still paralyzed, he felt dizzy and nauseous, almost like he didn't know what was happening. You made Linglong's life a sheer hell, I should kill you. But, she said that she would die if you died, so I have to be merciful today. She said she wanted to be with you so I will wait until you break through to the Tian Qi layer and then I will meet you in the Black Wind Mountain. If you have any problems or fear that your life is at risk, I don't want Linglong to get involved. Said a voice inside Lin Feng's brain. In a flash, the bestial qi moved away into the distance. When Lin Feng regained consciousness, the woman in black had disappeared. Meng Qing had also been taken away. Erg! Lin Feng roared violently as a sound wave spread in the air, it sounded like a ferocious wild beast. Lin Feng's face was red and his eyes bloodshot. Meng Qing had to leave him because he was too weak. Lin Feng, she's doing those things for Meng Qing. Once you break through to the Tian Qi layer, you will be able to go and pick her up, said Tang Yu when she saw that Lin Feng was going insane. Some crackling sound spread in the air because Lin Feng was clenching his fists painfully. Lin Feng had to break through to the Tian Qi layer in the frame of this journey. He understood why the woman had taken Meng Qing away. She was afraid for her. Roar roar. Lin Feng was stupefied, in front of him appeared a tower full of ferocious wild beasts. Lin Feng had the feeling he was suffocating under their strength. Tian-level beasts are inside that tower, thought Lin Feng. He had the impression that there was a relation between him and the tower. Even though the woman in black clothes with white hair had left, she had given him that tower. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at the blood on his arm. He had clearly sensed that some kind of a link was created between him and something else. It must be thanks to Meng Qing, thought Lin Feng. Of course, Meng Qing had protected him all the way and had defended him. That beast tower could save his life when he later fought cultivators of the Tian Qi layer. "Shut the hell up now," shouted Lin Feng furiously. He was in a very bad mood, as expected. Even though the beasts were furious, they stopped shouting. They couldn't say anything when they were under the control of the Mother Master, but now a weak human being was controlling them. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and then the tower became small. He then put it away for later. Chapter 767, Encounter in the Sky. The rolling beast Qi disappeared and the cloud made of bestial energies disappeared too. The people who were prisoners of it suddenly felt relieved. The beast Qi had been too terrifying, they were prisoners inside of it, unable to see anything at all. They hadn't even seen the beam of light in the air. On top of that they decided not to move, they might survive if they played possum. The geniuses were not the only ones who had been strongly affected by that beast, the snow eagles had been just as terrified. Lin Feng and Tang Yu were together hovering in the sky. Lin Feng was gazing into the distance as if something was drawing his attention. The crowd was confused because they didn't know what Lin Feng had just gone through. That beast Qi. Where had it come from? Why had it suddenly disappeared? Lin Feng probably knew the answer to those questions. By the way, where is the small wild beast? Someone realized that Lin Feng's small beast had disappeared. That small and adorable snowy white beast was very important to Lin Feng, he was ready to kill people because of her. But now it had disappeared. It must have been something that Lin Feng couldn't control, otherwise he would have never let the beast leave him. Could it be that the little animal disappeared because of that beast Qi, thought some people. Let's continue, said a snow eagle. Lin Feng turned around, took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. What mattered most now was to become stronger. Tang Yu and Lin Feng landed on the back of the snow eagle with the Tianxian group. They continued their journey trying to forget about the unexplainable yet terrifying bestial Qi which had emerged a moment before. It seemed that Lin Feng wasn't going to tell them anything. "Iya!" shouted a snow eagle sharply. Immediately after, the snow eagle started plummeting downwards. Their pupils shrank. Had they arrived? The ground was slowly becoming clearer and more distinct in their field of vision. They were about 1,000 meters in the sky at that moment, but they could clearly see the ground. It was a vast and wild region with mountains, forests, and lakes. An ancient wild Qi had emerged out of that place, it seemed like it had been there for millions of years. "There is someone," someone said at that moment. The crowd looked downwards and it seemed like some extremely strong cultivators were approaching, they were riding ferocious wild beasts as well. There were geniuses everywhere, just like those people from Tian Qi. The ones who were approaching were very young, but there were also some people who looked older. Without any exception, all those people were of the Xian Qi layer and at the top of the Xian Qi layer even. Those who were not extremely young had all broken through to the very top of the Xian Qi layer, they all seemed to be one step away from breaking through to the Tian Qi layer. They were older, which meant that they were as strong as those young people, but it also meant that their natural abilities weren't as high as that of those young men. But surely they had their own strengths, they were mature, experienced. Even though they hadn't managed to break free from the limits of the Xian Qi layer and break through to the Tian Qi layer, their cultivation level was still at the top of the Xian Qi layer. They had spent many years with the strength of the Xian Qi layer. They were going to be more frivolous than those young people, but some of them were going to be quite dynamic too. Because they hadn't managed to break through to the Tian Qi layer earlier, it meant that they have a problem in their heart or brain, or maybe their willpower and intent hadn't been strong enough. The different groups and spheres of influence had decided different sorts of people to represent them in the mysterious world. Tian Qi had decided to choose young people to help them go through hardships and dangers, necessary factors to become stronger. Besides, there was the possibility to acquire some treasures and possibly keep them. People who didn't belong to the same groups were enemies in the mysterious world. People from the Tian Qi Empire, someone recognized them because of the snow eagles and the 7 stars they were wearing, which represented the 7 snowy mountains of Tian Qi. They were people from Tian Qi, from the southeast of the region of Ganyu. The people from Tian Qi didn't know where those people were from. The Ganyu region was gigantic. There were 18 countries of average quality there, and many powerful sects and clans too. Even though all those people were strong, the people from Tian Qi couldn't know everybody. The 7 snow eagles' eyes were twinkling because they knew who those people were. However, they didn't say anything, they just looked at those things flying in the sky. Many people were arriving from the south. That group was composed of people riding several gigantic winged horses, but those horses had dragon scales all over their bodies. They were so large that 7 or 8 people could ride them. They had a terrifying physical strength and had dragon blood flowing in their veins. How impressive, thought the crowd. The dragon-scaled horses were singing the chant of the dragons. Their chanting was melodious and clear. All the people on the back of those horses looked proud and arrogant. Their chi was imperial, almost like monarchs. Those people were from the Jade Heaven imperial family. They are from the Tian Qi Empire, where there are gigantic and vast snowy mountains. The place called Tian Qi in the Tian Qi Empire is a holy place for them, explained a strong cultivator who was standing at the front of the group to those following him. The group of people nodded. They had heard about the strong and powerful groups of the region before. The Tian Qi Empire sent 56 people that are all young. Their lowest cultivation level is the 8th Xian Qi layer. A great majority of them have broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. However, they are not ordinary cultivators, said someone slowly. He was stupefied, his pupils shrank. Lin Feng, said the young man coldly. That young man was actually Duan Wu Dao, the crown prince of Xueyu. Surprisingly, 1 month after the incidents in Xueyu, he was seeing Lin Feng again. Ha! Many people from Jade Heaven turned their heads and looked at Lin Feng. Was that Lin Feng? Lin Feng's name had become famous in Jade Heaven. They had heard about how he had turned into a demon and was possessed by a murderous frenzy. Surprisingly, he hadn't died and was instead with the people from Tian Qi. Lin Feng's eyes made people shiver. He was staring down 2 people, Duan Wu Dao whom he had to kill, and the cultivator of the Tian Qi layer who had gone to Xueyu to attack him. If Lin Feng had the occasion, he wouldn't let the people from Jade Heaven off. They had hurt Xueyu, they had injured his friends and relatives, they had made everyone suffer. The cultivator of the Tian Qi layer was pulling a long face. Lin Feng hadn't turned into a demon and had become himself again. He would probably fight against the people from Jade Heaven in the future. That person had murderous intentions seeping from his eyes. If there was any opportunity to kill Lin Feng, they had to eliminate him. Chapter 768, Making the situation worse. Duan Wu Dao was upset because Lin Feng hadn't died. Back at the great competition of Xueyu, Lin Feng had defeated him in front of everyone and had finished first. Now that Duan Wu Dao joined the Jade Heaven imperial family, he was taught various things by some great cultivators. He's made so much progress in making his intent even more powerful. But now, how strong has Lin Feng become? Will it be possible to kill him? Someone asked while walking towards a leader of the Tian Qi layer. The cultivators of the Jade Heaven imperial family all knew about Lin Feng. They wanted Duan Wu Dao to kill Lin Feng as soon as they entered the mysterious world to avoid further troubles. Do you think that people from Tian Qi are helpless? One of the strong cultivators asked. All the people Tian Qi chose to enter the mysterious world must be strong. Those cultivators represent their future. Do you believe it will be so easy to kill any of them? Those 7 snow eagles are extraordinary, they're incredible. If those eagles weren't so strong, Tianqi wouldn't have taken the risk of sending their geniuses here without any protection, that same person continued. The one who asked the question was moved, he obviously understood what was meant. Killing Lin Feng wouldn't be easy. People from the Tianqi Empire wouldn't let their guard down. The dragon-scaled horses continued moving forwards as they emitted rumbling sounds in the sky. They headed in the direction of the snow eagles, leaving trails in the sky behind them. Lin Feng closed his eyes and breathed in deeply, trying to control his anger. He had to control himself and act carefully, he couldn't let his thoughts become chaotic. He had to focus on the advantages that the mysterious world would provide. Look at how many people are over there. Have we arrived already? Someone asked in the distance. They could see so many black dots in the distance. There are so many strong cultivators who have broken through to the 9th Xian-Qi layer. It must mean the mysterious world hasn't opened yet, they thought. Lin Feng opened his mouth. He saw something gigantic in the distance, it looked like a large tomb. A crowd had surrounded it, seemingly protecting it. A tomb. The tomb of the emperor. Lin Feng was stupefied. Was what the strong cultivators had told him true? The mysterious world was the tomb of the emperor. We arrived, that coffin has to be the entrance to the mysterious world. Everyone was excited, they had finally arrived. Those who had already arrived at the coffin were looking at each other, trying to guess where everyone was from. People from Tianqi and Jade Heaven Imperial family have already arrived, how fast. There were still some days to wait before going to the mysterious world, and half the forces of the Ganyu region were already there. Those who were eligible to enter the mysterious world were there, only a few minor groups hadn't arrived yet. The mysterious world was either the palace or the tomb of the emperor, not just anyone could go there. All the strongest forces of the Ganyu region had come, so people from the other regions would inevitably be rejected. The only force which could put up a fight would be the Holy City, because they were monstrously powerful, but they already possessed incredible quantities of resources. They weren't going to waste time with the tomb of the emperor, some of them were already related to the cultivation emperor. Becoming a student of the cultivation emperor was something extraordinary which guaranteed a successful future. Some of the strong cultivators were going with hopes of becoming the emperor's student. Of course, even if people were from Ganyu, they weren't necessarily eligible to go to the mysterious world. Only those groups widely recognized were accepted and could send their pupils. The 7 snow eagles turned into human beings as they landed. Everybody stared at that absolutely normal hill, how could it be the entrance of the mysterious world? Lin Feng looked at the gigantic hill and the various persons around it. It was then that he noticed someone from before and suddenly released an ice-cold chi. He could see the East Sea Dragon Palace people, their leader was wearing a purple golden dragon robe. As if he had sensed something, he frowned. He looked in the direction of the people of Tianqi. How come someone from Tianqi was acting so hostile? They had just arrived. However, he was astonished to see Lin Feng. Apart from the Dragon King who was wearing his familiar purple golden clothes, 2 others were now surprised. They had both been chosen to join the Dragon Palace, Di Ling and Duan Wuya. As Lin Feng yelled, Di Ling couldn't forget the past, even if Lin Feng's chi had changed a lot since the competition. However, Duan Wudao was seemingly indifferent. Even though he was surprised, he was smiling. This smile wasn't warm or friendly, it was filled with evil intentions. The second prince of Shuiyu was famous for his warmth and friendly demeanor, he was easy to approach. However, he had shown his true colors and was so much more evil than Duan Wudao. Hundreds of thousands of troops had died because of him. He had planned on Duan Wudao and Lin Feng to fight, then he wanted Shengong and the Jade Heaven Imperial family to fight. Duan Wuya had plotted to best benefit the East Sea Imperial Palace succeed and become glorious. He was certainly a master manipulator. If Lin Feng had to choose one person to kill, that person would be Duan Wuya. Lin Feng's murderous intentions were violent. Duan Wuya was looking back at Lin Feng and smiling, but he knew that Lin Feng wanted him to die 10,000 deaths. Duan Wuya was actually scared of Lin Feng. The past can't be changed now. Against all expectations, his diabolic plan to kill Lin Feng had failed at the last minute when he turned into a demon and almost killed everyone. But Lin Feng hadn't died, he was still alive and had seemingly managed to recover from his demonic possession. Lin Feng shouldn't be able to control the evil swords yet, but he had managed to recover somehow. He must have had another stroke of luck. On top of that, he hadn't joined Shengong but another group of influence. The people of Shengong had arrived already. They had managed to take some geniuses from the great competition of Shuiyu too. Isn't the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu supposed to represent you in the mysterious world? Duan Wuya was poking fun at the people of Shengong. They looked in the direction of Tianqi's people and noticed Lin Feng. Duan Wuya was trying to deteriorate the situation between Lin Feng and Shengong even more. Chapter 769, Serious Consequences, Lin Feng. It's really Lin Feng. Lin Feng had finished first at the great competition of Shuiyu and became famous in Shengong, especially in Shengong North. Just as there are tensions between the 7 snowy mountains in Tianqi, there are tensions between the different groups in Shengong, more precisely between Shengong North, Shengong South, Shengong West and Shengong East. Lin Feng was supposed to go to the mysterious world representing Shengong North. After what happened in Shuiyu, Lin Feng had turned into a demon and crazily attacked them. In the end they had given up and abandoned Lin Feng. On top of that, they had given Lin Feng's free spot to someone else for the mysterious world. After all, he had turned into a demon, what could they do? He was in a murderous frenzy. However, Lin Feng now appeared again, his eyes were twinkling just like those of a deity. Even though he looked cold, he hadn't turned into a demon. Surprisingly, he was now representing the Tianqi Empire. Bei Ming and Lei Mang pulled a long face. Since Lin Feng hadn't turned into a demon, shouldn't he represent Shengong in the mysterious world? How could he be representing the Tianqi Empire? Apart from Bei Ming, a few others were also staring at Lin Feng. Those people were those who had participated to the great competition of Shuiyu and had chosen to join Shengong. They had thought that Lin Feng was deep and mysterious, especially when they had found out the things going on between Yu Tianming and him. Yu Tianming obviously knew what had happened in Shuiyu. His grandfather Yu Qingshan had almost died in Shuiyu. Lin Feng. Bei Ming came out from the group representing Shengong. Lin Feng, we were extremely grieved when we heard about what happened to you in Shuiyu. We just had the feeling that those loved by the gods always died young. We even sent some strong cultivators to save you. We all hoped that you would recover, but now it seems that we were too worried. You managed to stay safe. I would like to thank you and allow you to go to the mysterious world as the leader of the Shengong group. The crowd looked back at Lin Feng. They didn't know what social status the young man had, but Bei Ming attached so much importance to him. Bei Ming was ready to make him become their leader. The people from the Tianqi Empire also looked at Lin Feng and realized that the young man who had suddenly appeared in the Tianxian group was famous. The group on the dragon-scaled horses knew him, and the people from Shengong. It seems like he isn't absolutely unknown, he is already famous amongst several different groups of influence. No wonder Lin Feng was so strong, he was already famous in other places. But Lin Feng had already joined Tianqi. Could he join Shengong again? Joining Tianqi was easy, there were no requirements. They even did their best to help geniuses become stronger. However, if Lin Feng joined Shengong, he would violate the only rule of Tianqi, which was to betray them. They were all staring at Lin Feng to see what he would reply. Lin Feng glanced at Bei Ming. Bei Ming looked indifferent as if he hadn't noticed that Lin Feng was with Tianqi. He was just proposing him to become the leader of the Shengong group as if it were absolutely normal. Mister, thank you for your generosity. But because of some issues, I decided to represent the Tian-Chi Empire and to become one of their citizens. I will not betray my empire, so I hope that you can understand. Lin Feng seemed final with this, nodding to Bei Ming respectfully. If the Xueyu incident hadn't occurred, Lin Feng would have fought for Shandong. Unfortunately, nothing could be changed anymore. How audacious, shouted Lei Mang furiously while releasing some thunder. He glared, Lin Feng, Shandong raised you, we even saved your life. And now you're saying that you're a citizen of the Tian-Chi Empire, don't you think that's a great offense? You really despise us, don't you? If Shandong hadn't appeared the other day, I would have represented Shandong. Lin Feng sounded neither furious nor resentful. Lin Feng, if there is anything that makes you unsatisfied with Shandong, we can talk about it. We will do our best to make you happy so that you come back to Shandong. Bei Ming wouldn't give up. Some things cannot be changed. Lin Feng said, shaking his head. On the other day in Xueyu, people from Shandong came and I understood that you were, all in all, only interested in yourself and your own success. You don't care about me, you don't care about my relatives and friends. I can even say that you just looked at them getting attacked and killed without doing a thing. Therefore, I will never do anything for Shandong. They were confused. I had given them the order to do anything to protect you. I hadn't thought that they would only protect you and forget about your friends and family members. I made a mistake, my orders weren't clear enough. If you come back to Shandong, I will offer you great skills and techniques, you will become monstrously strong, said Bei Ming. Now Lin Feng felt even more angry, was he trying to tempt Lin Feng with skills and techniques again? Could Lin Feng forget about his friends and family members because of some skills and techniques? Bei Ming's words proved that they only cared about their own success. I won't change my mind. There's no need to talk anymore, said Lin Feng indifferently, giving Bei Ming no face. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't going to join Shandong, and now he was humiliating Shandong. He, Bei Ming, you did your best and tried to plan everything. You helped lots of cultivators during the great competition of Xueyu, but even the champion of the competition isn't willing to join Shandong, the Dragon King was mocking him. His words hurt like daggers. They made Bei Ming feel even worse. He glanced back, Dragon King, don't think that I have forgotten about those who plotted against us since the beginning. The people from Tian-Chi were still staring at Lin Feng, he was the champion of the great competition of Xueyu. That was why so many groups of influence wanted to have him. Shandong even wanted him to become a leader. Dragon King, I know that you've been plotting against us this entire time, the Dragon Palace is sly and evil. Bei Ming continued. The Dragon King only smiled coldly, without knitting his brows, and said, plotting. Duan Wuxia is an incredible genius, even though he didn't participate at the great competition of Xueyu, he isn't any weaker than his brother Duan Wudao. He accepted to join the East Sea Dragon Palace and collaborate with us, he accepted to help us achieve incredible things. How could the East Sea Dragon Palace refuse such an offer? You should instead think about what happened with Lin Feng and how deal with that problem, what a humiliation. Did I ask you for advice? Bei Ming asked coldly. He looked back, Lin Feng, are you sure that you won't change your mind? Lin Feng just nodded indifferently without even glancing at Bei Ming. You want to die, shouted Lei Mang furiously. He jumped forwards and released terrifying thunder energy which drummed across the sky. It seemed like the entire atmosphere was becoming the center of a thunderstorm. However, at that moment, a person in white appeared in front of Lin Feng. It was a beast with two wings which issued a hurricane that collided with the thunders. Lei Mang, stop immediately. Bei Ming was furious. Lei Mang reluctantly recalled his thunders. The snow eagle had defended Lin Feng. Be very careful, said Bei Ming to Lin Feng, but Lin Feng looked determined and stubborn. It seemed like he had anticipated everything, he showed no surprise on his face. The past couldn't be changed and he had to bear the consequences, everything held serious consequences. Phew. The people from Shandong sighed. Back then, at the great competition of Shuiyu, Xue Wuchang had attached a lot of importance to Lin Feng. He had seen him become stronger, step by step, until he became the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. He had always been aware of Lin Feng's monstrous and terrifying natural abilities. Of course he had hoped that Lin Feng would join Shandong. However, Shandong failed to make friends with Lin Feng. That's life, things are impermanent. Shandong is very sad to lose you. Xue Wuchang was furious at Lei Meng. He had sent him to protect Lin Feng and his friends, but because of a small mistake, the guards had the opposite effect. Shandong will regret that in the future. Chapter 770, Two Traitors. Lin Feng, someone called from elsewhere. It came from a group of people in black Chongpaos. Their chi was ice-cold and evil, they looked scary and others were afraid to get close to them. Do the people of the Necropolis sect know Lin Feng? Thought everybody astonished. It seemed like everybody knew Lin Feng. The Necropolis sect was an evil sect, so they weren't active and dynamic in the outside world. They weren't like the East Sea Dragon Palace who actively looked for new geniuses all the time. The crowd was surprised to see that they knew Lin Feng. Lin Feng, we would love to have you as a disciple at the Necropolis sect. You can join whenever you want, and we will choose a great Zun teacher to teach you. The crowd was astonished. The Necropolis sect wanted Lin Feng just like Shandong. Their proposition was even more tempting, they were ready to offer him a Zun teacher. That was the dream of so many people. Thank you very much for your kindness, but now I am a citizen of the Tianqi Empire and I will not change my mind. Lin Feng turned down the Necropolis sect and with certainty. It was no secret that he had turned into a demon in Shuiyu, even the Necropolis sect knew about it. With the evil sword, Lin Feng was absolutely eligible to join the Necropolis sect. Even without it, he was still eligible to join them. Then forget about it, but our door will always be open for you. You can join whenever you want and we will welcome you then, said the strong cultivator from the Necropolis sect. Thank you, said Lin Feng with an indifferent smile on his face. That guy really has endless opportunities. So many strong groups are fighting for him, and they are all offering incredible things to try and tempt him, thought the people from Tianqi. Their eyes were twinkling. Shandong was offering him some incredible skills and techniques while the Necropolis sect was offering him a Zun teacher. In the distance, there were more ferocious, wild beasts arriving. Someone got off their beast and looked around when they saw the strong cultivators surrounding the gigantic coffin, as if they had been looking for their group. She arrived, said Tang Yu in a low voice. She had been waiting for him. She felt embarrassed because Lin Feng and her had joined Shandong. She wanted to explain the situation to Jun Mo. Lin Feng heard Tang Yu and he slowly turned around. Jun Mo and Yunfei Yang had come together, as if they had sensed something. They turned to Lin Feng and Tang Yu. Strong cultivators' perceptions were extremely acute. Lin Feng. Jun Mo and Yunfei Yang were surprised. They felt relieved knowing that Lin Feng had recovered. They immediately flew towards Lin Feng and Tang Yu. Many people were surprised seeing two extremely strong cultivators appearing, especially Jun Mo who had broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. They seemed to know Lin Feng. Jun Mo looked particularly enigmatic and unfathomable. Lin Feng, are you alright? Asked Jun Mo. The crowd understood that he was one of Lin Feng's friends. Lin Feng, said Yunfei Yang while staring at him. He had seen Lin Feng turn into a demon and leave, but he had been extremely worried. He feared that Lin Feng would kill everybody. However, it seemed like Lin Feng had recovered and felt much better. They thought that they would never see Lin Feng ever again. Don't worry, I am normal now, said Lin Feng smiling. Lin Feng had surprisingly managed to recover. What luck. Lin Feng, I heard a rumor about a stone plate which could restrict the evil power in your body. It is an incredible treasure with fantastic magical powers called the sealed evil stone plate. According to the rumors, it was broken and it turned into several stone plates, for exactly, which spread in the continent. They contain a terrifying intent. If you manage to obtain one of those stone plates, you will be able to use it to control the evil power in your body. Jun Mo Shi was smiling. However, it seems like you don't need it anymore since you recovered. This means that you already managed to defeat the evilness in your body without using any outside help. Lin Feng was speechless as he smiled. Jun Mo Shi had also heard about that stone plate. That was precisely what had helped him. Without it, Lin Feng would have never been able to control the evilness in his body. Mo Shi, you said that the stone plate was divided into 4 pieces. How can I find one? Asked Lin Feng. Jun Mo Shi frowned when he heard Lin Feng and said, in the Ganyu region, there is a valley called the Death Valley. It is said that there are extremely strong demons there, those who go there almost always die. Many years ago, a demon came out of the valley and a monstrously strong cultivator restricted the power of that demon and sealed it in a gigantic stone plate. Do you think that we could obtain such a stone plate? That valley is called Death Valley because anyone who enters it dies, right? So how could we ever get that stone plate? It could be extremely dangerous. Lin Feng inquired. Jun Mo Shi nodded. Lin Feng was right. The stone plate had been used to seal a monstrously powerful demon. Lin Feng would be in great danger if he tried to steal it. Jun Mo Shi, thank you, said Lin Feng looking grateful. Such information was difficult to obtain. Jun Mo Shi really cared about his friends. You're alright, that's the most important thing, said Jun Mo Shi shaking his head. By the way, how come you two are here? He had noticed that Lin Feng and Tang Yu weren't with Shengong people, they were with another group of people. On that day in Shuiyu, Shengong people came and didn't help. They looked at Lin Feng's friends and family members getting attacked or killed, but didn't act until Lin Feng was already in great danger. Explained Yunfei Yang, who had also helped Lin Feng on that day. Of course, Jun Mo Shi understood the entire story. Even though they hadn't directly killed his friends or family members, they watched without doing anything. Lin Feng was right not to join Shengong. Jun Mo Shi wouldn't either. Jun Mo Shi was surprised to hear the story. Lin Feng had been friendly to Shengong, but they were really only interested in their own success. You two can join Tian Qi if you want, said the Tianxian Snow Eagle to Jun Mo Shi and Yunfei Yang. We care about our geniuses. What you obtain in the mysterious world remains yours and you don't have to offer the Empire anything. The treasures are all yours and only yours. Besides, we can also help you become stronger. There is only one thing we ask our citizens, they cannot betray us. Tian Qi, I am the Prince of the Dragon Mountain Empire, he is the Prince of Mou, said Jun Mo Shi to the Snow Eagle. That is no problem at all. The Dragon Mountain Empire and the country of Mou can form an alliance. You will just be considered a part of the Tian Qi Empire and you won't have to renounce any of your other social statuses, for example, Prince. The Snow Eagle understood what Jun Mo Shi meant. Is the Tian Qi Empire insane? You're trying to steal my geniuses. Bei Ming was writhing in anger. He had lost Lin Feng and had no choice but to accept it. Jun Mo Shi and Yunfei Yang were also incredible geniuses. Jun Mo Shi had even finished 4th at the great competition of Shuiyu. I am just inviting them, they can make their own decisions. You choose, we are not forcing you, we've never forced anyone to do anything, said the Snow Eagle mockingly. His eyes were twinkling while looking back at Bei Ming, it seemed like he was making fun of Shengong. I accept, said Jun Mo Shi, stopping Bei Ming who was about to say something. So do I, said Yunfei Yang. Bei Ming looked extremely upset. Leader, back when Lin Feng was only a half-member of Shengong, he hadn't accepted to join. He said that he would represent Shengong in the mysterious world. However, when he went through some incredible hardships, Shenggong abandoned him. Because of you, his friends and family had almost died. Back then, Lin Feng still counted on Shenggong. Considering all those things, how can I be sure that after acquiring fantastic treasures in the mysterious world, Shenggong will not kill us and steal our treasures? I am sure that getting rid of someone after he has served his purpose is something you're capable of doing, explained Jun Mo Shi while releasing some vital qi of righteousness. Lin Feng had been in great danger and had abandoned him, who knew what Shenggong was capable of doing. Everybody had the impression that Jun Mo Shi was right. Shenggong was shameless and had no moral values, which was why the situation had changed so drastically for them. People who were blaming Jun Mo Shi and Yun Fei Yang for joining Tian Qi were wrong. Shenggong, sighed the Dragon King. The Dragon King was actually sighing as a sign of mockery. It seemed like Shenggong was absolutely incompetent. We organized the great competition of Shuiyu and had spent so much time and energy, but in the end we were betrayed, said Bei Ming, looking at the leader of Shenggong East in an ice-cold way. Bei Ming was furious. He glanced at Lin Feng and the others while turning around. He didn't want to leave, he wanted to kill them all, he was so furious. Chapter 771, The Palace. Jun Mo Shi, how come Qing Meng Xian didn't come with you? Asked Tang Yuyu. She hadn't seen Qing Meng Xian appear yet. Back then, Qing Meng Xian and Tang Yuyu were very good friends, they were the most beautiful and strongest female cultivators of Dragon Mountain. She thought that Qing Meng Xian would come with Jun Mo Shi. Her teacher didn't allow her to come, said Jun Mo Shi. Her teacher has more ambitions for her. Qing Meng Xian is a member of the Cosmic Pavilion, her natural abilities are much higher than those of her fellow disciples. Therefore, her teacher attaches too much importance to her and was afraid to lose her. Coming to the mysterious world is dangerous, there are extremely strong cultivators from empires of average quality. Qing Meng Xian might not be considered outstanding enough in this crowd. Tang Yuyu understood, her father didn't want her to come either. There were too many strong cultivators, the mysterious world was so much more dangerous than the great competition of Shuiyu. The great competition of Shuiyu was only about Shuiyu, a region composed of 4 empires of lower quality. However, the Ganyu region was vast and incredible. People from Ganyu despised people from the Shuiyu region. That journey will be extremely dangerous, we all have to be prudent and careful to come out alive, said Tang Yuyu. Nobody knew what they would face in the mysterious world. Don't worry, I will not die because a star is protecting me. My life won't be that short, joked Jun Mo Shi while the 3 others laughed. Lin Feng stretched his hand, Tang Yuyu, Jun Mo Shi and Yun Fei Yang also stretched their hands and then they rose up in the air at the same time with a show of unity. This was a promise to themselves that they were going to come out alive. The snow eagles smiled resplendently when they saw their determination and bond. Ferocious beasts were usually emotionless but Lin Feng's group moved them. Usually, the weak were the prey of the strong, it was difficult to find friends in such a world. However, Lin Feng and his 3 friends were smiling honestly and wholeheartedly, it seemed like nothing could destroy their friendship. They're simulating their friendship. Ling Xie from the Tian Shu group was mocking them. He was probably jealous to see that Lin Feng had such good friends. Lin Feng glanced at him but ignored him. Why should he pay attention to such insignificance? Lin Feng was a far stronger cultivator. Hee, can I join you guys? Huang Fulong surprised them with his idiotic smile. However, Lin Feng slightly smiled back and nodded. Between all the seas of the universe, friends are like brothers. Even if we just met, brother, come and join us, said Jun Mo Shi cheerfully. Jun Mo Shi was filled with the vital energy of righteousness and could sense good intentions. Indeed, like brothers, said Huang Fulong while stretching his hand out as the now 5 friends made another show of unity. Huang Fulong simple-mindedly said, my name is Huang Fulong, you can call me De Hai Chong. De Hai Chong, that is quite a vulgar name, joked Yun Fei Yang indecently as the five of them laughed. Huang Fu Long actually liked the name De Hai Chong. Sure, it sounded rough, but he liked it, so why care? They looked happy and carefree in that world of cruelty and emotionlessness. It felt good to be supported by friends and feel united. Groups continued to pour in. For the most part the crowd didn't pay attention to any of them. They would only stare at the gigantic coffin, calmly waiting for time to pass. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. He was calm and serene, nothing could perturb him. However, not everybody could remain as calm as Lin Feng. People were increasingly excited or nervous. The moment they could enter the mysterious world was approaching. Nobody knew what awaited them though. Would they benefit from incredible treasures or would they get injured and even die? Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly everyone's hearts started beating faster. Somewhere in the vast area, there was a particular sound spreading. Bzzzzz. A buzzing sound spread in the atmosphere. They could feel their bodies shake along with the sound. However, as soon as they sensed it, it stopped. It is time, thought the crowd. The time to go to the mysterious world had finally come. Bzzz bzzz. The buzzing sound started again and the crowd started shivering. Everybody looked determined and nervous as they slowly stood up, their eyes filled with willpower and determination. They were staring at the gigantic coffin with clenched fists. They had waited so long and finally, they were about to enter the mysterious world. Bzzzzz boom boom boom. The loud buzzing sound then transformed into rumbling sounds. On the ground, stones and sand shifted as if there was an earthquake. However, the atmosphere held only an eerie silence. The leaders of the group started walking forward slowly. Their mission was about to start. "Look out for yourself," said the 7 snow eagles as they walked forwards. It seemed like their steps weighed millions of kilograms at that moment. A terrifying pressure invaded the atmosphere as a terrifying qi emerged out of the ground. The strong cultivators from Tian Qi all moved forwards along with the others. "Let's attack together," someone said. The crowd saw a terrifying strength move towards the coffin. It was ice-cold, swift and fierce. It surmounted to make the top of the mountain break. Sand and stone splashed through the air as the ground opened. Boom! A silhouette violently trampled on the ground as dust rose. Then, terrifying lights appeared. Sky. A light beam spread in the air. Earth. Boom boom. Another person trampled on the ground which made it shake even more violently. Another light beam appeared. Water. Fire. Thunder. Mountain. Wind. Metal. Boom 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 boom. The earth kept shaking as silhouettes kept jumping forwards. Suddenly, there were light beams everywhere. Trigrams appeared in the sky and merged into one, transforming into a gigantic trigram structure which looked like profound magical spell. These cultivators are all at the Tian Qi layer and can create formation, thought Lin Feng astonished. He had learned some magic spells and formations before. He knew how terrifying they were. The mysterious world adventure seemed like it couldn't start by itself. These strong cultivators knew what to do, as if they had received instructions. Boom boom boom. An infinite number of light beams fused together with the trigram in the sky. The mountain immediately flattened. But it stopped moving, as if there was some restrictive energy. Break break break. The light beams in the sky became more dazzling. The destructive energy rose in the air. The crowd closed their eyes. The ground under their feet was shaking vigorously. The rumbling sounds were terrifying as the 8 trigrams pattern in the sky had disappeared and a gigantic palace appeared in the ground. It slowly started emerging out of the ground. Chapter 772, Getting into the Mysterious World. The crowd was awestruck staring at the majestic palace. It looked vast and domineering. The walls of the palace had 5 colors. Surprisingly, there's a palace, Could it be the emperor's residence? Thought the crowd while continuing to stare. There were 8 trigrams on the facade of the palace as if something had been restricting the energies it contained. Dazzling lights emerged out of the palace and blinded people's eyes. Ah! A horrible shriek spread in the air. Someone who wanted to get close to the palace got stabbed by the lights and died. He then turned into a dry corpse on the ground. There was no blood at all, as if the fluid of the corpse had been sucked out in a flash. Gulp, 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 the crowd panicked. People were so scared that they moved back. Those who wanted to foolishly rush into the palace a moment before all suddenly stopped. The lights diffused by the palace could kill people. Until the tunnel completely opens, nobody can get close to it, someone shouted furiously. Those cultivators of the Tian-Chi layer were still releasing their energy, putting pressure on the palace. Boom! At that moment, a silhouette rose up in the air and released a monstrous chi. A Zun cultivator. Pupils shrank. Surprisingly, from the palace had appeared a Zun cultivator. Boom, boom, boom. Chi continued spreading in the air as silhouettes appeared on all the corners of the 8 trigrams. Those people were so strong that their chi appeared unfathomable. Zun cultivators, Mr., shouted the crowd in unison. Those people were respected Zun cultivators. Zun cultivators from some of the great influential groups had appeared. There was more than a dozen different sorts of powerful chi in the atmosphere. Those Zun cultivators' energies contained some abstruse significance energy. Arf! The Zun cultivators were releasing abstruse energy as snowflakes fell from freezing skies, while the sun shined fierce. It seemed like something was boiling as those terrifying threads of abstruse energy fell onto the palace. The palace shook violently. Incredible lights containing death energy attacked the Zun cultivators. Now! Open it! Shouted a few people in unison. Suddenly, a terrifying sword light rose up in the air, and it suddenly seemed like there was nothing but swords in the air. Boom! That sword light lacerated the atmosphere and crashed onto the palace. Rumbling sound spread in the air as those deadly lights pushed back the sword light, and on the palace, a gigantic golden door appeared. Lacerate! Shouted the sword Zun cultivator furiously. A sword light illuminated the atmosphere, lacerating everything on its way and crashed onto the golden door of the palace. Quickly, we don't have much time, someone said. They used more powerful energies now. The 8 trigrams seemed like they contained a gravitational force. It was almost as if those strong cultivators hadn't been fighting against the palace but against a person. Break! One person turned into a sword of light and, dazzling lights invaded the entire atmosphere. The door of the palace broke and the sword Zun cultivator appeared in the air again. His chi was floating around him as he stared at the door with a smile on his face. Go in quickly. We don't have much time, so we must rush, the sword cultivator shouted to the crowd. Let's go. Lin Feng ran towards that door too. The Zun and Tian cultivators were using all their strength to put the palace under pressure. They were helping keep the door of the palace open. So, they had no time to waste. Jun Mo Shi closely followed Lin Feng as they all ran for the door. Piss off, someone shouted while releasing their intent at the crowd, slowing everybody down. His chi was too strong. Tian-Chi layer. Many people were blocked by this smiling madman. Then, he moved into the hole after them. The cultivators continued moving forwards looking like they wanted to laugh. They were watching a dead man. If that cultivator of the Tian-Chi layer entered the mysterious world, wouldn't he die? The person thought that he was extremely lucky because those cultivators of the Zun and Tian-Chi layers were holding the door open for everybody, but he was ignoring the rule. People of Tian-Chi layer and above couldn't enter the mysterious world. As he passed through the door, a dazzling light appeared containing abstruse energy. He raised his head and immediately disappeared. Moron! Since ancient times, that palace had contained a terrifying death energy, especially the door. Those who had broken through to the Tian Qi layer and above who tried to enter the palace died in less than a second. However, cultivators of the Xian Qi layer could enter the mysterious world. Entering it felt the same as entering an empty world. Lin Feng was moving extremely quickly using wind intent. It only took a moment before he arrived next to the door. He turned his head around, looked at Jun Mo Shi and the others and said, "Let's go in." Lin Feng then jumped into the hole. The dazzling lights appeared and in a flash, he arrived in another world, a world of darkness. Boom boom, boom boom boom, Lin Feng had the impression that he could hear someone's heartbeat. With his cultivation level, moving through darkness wasn't difficult. However, he couldn't see anything because of how dark everything was. He didn't know where he was. He only knew that around him were many people. They were probably like him, lost and unsure whether to move. The change was too sudden. A moment before, there had been dazzling lights everywhere and now they were in this pitch-black world. Everybody was fighting to enter the mysterious world first and after entering, there was only darkness. The crowd couldn't help but remain absolutely silent, it was an eerie silence. Nobody knew if there were friends or enemies next to them. Lin Feng, it seemed to be Tang Yuyu's voice. Boom! A terrifying deadly energy spread in the air and shot at the voice at full speed. Tang Yuyu sensed that terrifying punch, but she couldn't react fast enough. Boom! That terrifying punch landed on a body and a person smiled coldly. Someone just talked, did that person want to die? Suddenly, that person stopped smiling because a pair of hands grabbed his head. You want to die, said another cold voice. A cracking sound spread in the air, the sound of bones being crushed. In that world of darkness, there was only coldness. Actually, the person who was punched wasn't Tang Yuyu, but a young man. Chapter 773, The Mysterious Marks in the Dark World, I'm here. Lin Feng said without fearing the dark. The eerie silence and the darkness of that place was giving a dreadful sensation to the cultivators. Someone had attacked another person and ended his life in a flash, his spinal cord had been shattered. How terrifying. People didn't dare act recklessly. Lin Feng. Tang Yuyu was relieved to find Lin Feng. He stretched one hand and touched Tang Yuyu, they held hands as Lin Feng said, "Stay next to me." Lin Feng was circulating the strength of the Harukas in his body. His corporeal body was so solid that almost nobody could hurt him. Tang Yuyu could stay behind him and would be safe. "Where are we?" asked Jun Mo Shi, providing some vital energy of righteousness to his body. Immediately, some weak lights started flashing but it seemed like those lights were constricted by the darkness. His energies could only illuminate his surroundings up to 10 meters. Lin Feng could clearly see that some people were looking in their direction and their eyes were twinkling gloomily. He clearly understood that everybody in the mysterious world was a potential enemy. The dark world was vast, with only the weak lights diffused by Jun Mo Shi's energies, it was impossible to see the edges. Lin Feng and his friends were glaring at everyone else, making them look elsewhere. They knew that Lin Feng was strong. With Yun Fei Yang and Huang Fu Long behind Jun Mo Shi, the five friends were back together. "It is too crowded here, let's move to the aside." The other four followed Lin Feng in a direction. They soon come upon a strange wall. Jun Mo Shi continued to release his energy of righteousness to illuminate the atmosphere. Slowly, his energy illuminated the different parts of the facade. There were strange marks on the walls, it seemed like those marks were alive and had their own will. Those marks are so strange. Yun Fei Yang and everybody else agreed. Using the faint lights diffused by Jun Mo Shi, they looked at the marks with more detail. They had the impression that these weren't simple marks but geysers of monstrously strong energy which could erupt at any moment. "Let me try something." Huang Fu Long sounded excited. Pure qi emitted from his body as faint lights. He illuminated one of the strange and enigmatic marks from the beginning to the end with his qi. A terrifying physical strength appeared. Huang Fulong's heart nearly jumped out of his chest. How strong, those marks contained a terrifying strength. Don't go too hard on it. Lin Feng interrupted Huang Fulong, who then stopped releasing his pure qi. The terrifying strength disappeared right away, leaving Huang Fulong puzzled. What was going on? Ah! A horrible shriek broke the eerie silence of the dark world, surprising their group. They turned around and saw that the wall had released some deadly energy which penetrated someone's body who had done what Huang Fulong just did, killing him on the spot. Phew, Huang Fulong took a deep breath, his mouth was dry as he looked back at Lin Feng. How dangerous! If Lin Feng hadn't interrupted Huang Fulong, he would have been the one who died. They now knew that the walls were dangerous, to a terrifying level. As expected, each step in the mysterious world was dangerous. Nobody knew where or when danger was awaiting them. Many others paid attention to before, so they gradually all left the walls and headed towards the middle. But, Lin Feng and his friends didn't leave because they understood that if they didn't attack the walls with pure qi, nothing would happen. Besides, Lin Feng was really interested in those marks. What kind of marks were those? What gave them such a power? Lin Feng's intuition was telling him that there was more to this wall. Lin Feng touched the marks with his fingers and then whispered to Jun Emoshi, maybe if we copy those peculiar marks we can gain something. Or maybe we could use them in some way. That's exactly what I was thinking. Jun Emoshi nodded. Those marks held such strength, not attempting to understand them would be a pity. They were in the palace of the emperor. Could things be that easy? Lin Feng nodded at Jun Emoshi, who seemingly understood. Jun Emoshi stopped illuminating the surroundings and everyone else guessed they left. Lin Feng put his hand on the wall and started sensing the marks under his hands. Very quickly, he touched the marks and tried to remember the patterns. Oh no, I can't remember all of them, surprisingly, thought Lin Feng. After putting his hand away, he couldn't remember the patterns. He was puzzled because it seemed like he had forgotten half of the pattern. After a short time, the others gradually told him that they couldn't remember the patterns either. Those marks are quite mysterious, said Jun Emoshi. Even though they should have been able to remember the whole pattern, each time they moved their hands away, they forgot at least half of it. Cultivators could memorize things very easily, having learned to use their heart and brain. But this task strangely seemed beyond them. It seems we can't gain anything from those marks, sighed Jun Emoshi. Let me try again. Lin Feng was upset. He looked at the pitch-black wall and suddenly, ice-cold lights appeared in his eyes. They looked emotionless and expressionless. Lin Feng's eyes revolved in their orbits. Immediately after, a picture appeared in his eyes, as if his brain held a hard copy picture. Copy. His eyes were twinkling while using his celestial spirit. It seemed like lights were emerging out of his eyes and scanning the surface of the wall as images kept appearing in his brain. He didn't forget them this time. As expected, my celestial spirit enables me to overcome this difficulty, thought Lin Feng, whose eyes were twinkling with delight. The others gradually turned to him. Lin Feng's abilities seemed endless. He could do everything. Lin Feng continued moving towards another wall. He then inspected the marks of that wall and another complete image appeared in his brain. Lin Feng looked absent-minded and exhausted. Surprisingly, using his celestial spirit to inspect the wall was very tiring. It felt like his vitality was being absorbed. Those marks in the wall had something particular yet difficult to grab. What scary marks, could it be that the Emperor of the Rumors carved them himself, thought Lin Feng, who had never heard of such marks. Lin Feng continued inspecting the 3 other walls. In the end, Lin Feng had only been able to detect 5 walls filled with those mysterious marks. Chapter 774, Sacrificial Altar. So Lin Feng, what did you find? Tang Yu couldn't help but ask. Those marks are way too mysterious. With my cultivation level, I can only inspect 5 walls. Now I need to see if I can understand them. Lin Feng said in a deep and forceful voice. Even if he had finished inspecting the walls, he was unable to understand the marks with his current cultivation level. When analyzing the images in his brain, he couldn't focus on them and immediately felt exhausted. He was still too weak. It's okay, being able to inspect 5 walls is not bad already. I can't even inspect one. Tang Yu reassured, smiling wryly. Jun Mo Shi and the others were the same, they couldn't remember the patterns either. There was a peculiar force in those patterns were either too difficult to understand or their cultivation level was too low. They continued moving forwards while others stayed and tried to understand the patterns. They too discovered the patterns, but they had the same problem as Lin Feng and his friends, they couldn't understand them. They couldn't even remember the patterns formed by those marks. A faint light appeared on the walls made of pure qi. Because someone had died before, many had moved away from the walls, but now there were people who felt like trying again. However, each time they sensed the extremely powerful deadly energy, they stopped. Lin Feng and his friends moved forwards and continued exploring the area. Since they couldn't understand them, they didn't feel like wasting too much time thinking about them. An extremely powerful qi then emerged, making Lin Feng nervous. In front of him was an extremely powerful energy filled with the strength of the mysterious marks. Die, said an evil voice. Some pure qi lights appeared in front of them and then the walls were covered with pure qi light. Deadly energy spread in those mysterious marks which looked like veins and arteries. Lie down, shouted Lin Feng furiously, listening to his own instinct. With incredible speed, he threw himself backwards and fell flat. Sirrr. A purple light emerged in the air and passed before of Lin Feng's eyes, that light was dazzling. Lin Feng's eyes felt painful, some blood even dripped out. Ha! A terrible shriek spread in the atmosphere, that purple thunder immediately beheaded someone. 2 trails of blood splashed in the air. His eyes were wide open at the moment of his death, he didn't even know how he died. Lin Feng. Tang Yu was stunned holding him. She sensed that Lin Feng's hands were on his eyes. His eyes were burning, he felt like he was blind from the pain. Pure qi revolved in the air and rose up to his hand, it moved into his eyes and relieved a bit of the pain. He slowly opened his eyes again. At the same time, Jun Mo Shi and Huang Fu Long had already thrown themselves to the one who had attacked Lin Feng. In the darkness, there was an ice-cold energy like ice or snow that emerged. Some rumbling sound spread in the air. Huang Fu Long and Jun Mo Shi moved back to where they were standing before, they were furiously glaring at the person. The elders of Tian Qi said that we couldn't attack each other. Against all expectations, you people from Tian Shu dare sink to such levels. You're really shameless. Huang Fu Long was pissed. The one who had just attacked the wall with pure qi was the young man who was defeated by Lin Feng the other day. Nobody replied as the stepping sounds became faintly discernible. The opponent had moved farther away, nobody knew where he went. Lin Feng, are you alright? Asked Jun Mo Shi, releasing some vital energy of righteousness to see Lin Feng clearly. I almost went blind but I'm alright, said Lin Feng shaking his head. The energy of the mysterious marks was terrifying. With a little bit of pure qi, the walls could release a terrifying energy. Were those people from the Tian Shu group? Lin Feng wanted to know. Indeed, it's the one who attacked you the other day, Ling Xie is probably the one who bears the responsibility for that. Huang Fu Long was still furious. It seemed like they had overestimated others' integrity. Even though the elders had warned them not to attack each other and to do everything for the Tian Qi Empire, those geniuses were used to acting arrogantly. Last time, Lin Feng had humiliated them and they hated him for that, and now they almost killed him. Since it's that way, don't blame me for being rude, said Lin Feng while gazing into the distance. Look at the walls. Lin Feng hadn't thought that people could use the walls to attack others. Only those who were really sly and evil could think of such cheap methods to attack others. Now, everyone knew that they could use the walls to attack others. They all walked towards the walls and put their hands on the walls. They released some pure qi as the walls released deadly energy in response. It seemed like the walls were about to kill. Immediately, those in the dark felt oppressed by the deadly energies. However, nobody attacked. If they killed other people, maybe they feared retaliation. The pitch-black tunnel seemed endless, like an authentic tomb. The crowd continued to walk for a very long time until they finally arrived to a place with light. The light was gradually getting brighter. The crowd could see a gigantic tombstone in front of them, and around the tombstone were strange marks which looked like veins and arteries. Those marks looked like the marks on the walls in the tunnel. However, they were much more complex. They crisscrossed together to form interweaving patterns. It seemed like a sea of vasculature was connected to that tombstone. Actually, it didn't look like a tombstone, but more like an altar. These mysterious marks contain deadly energy as well, but they are interweaving, so the strength released will probably be much more powerful than those in the tunnel, thought Lin Feng. He still couldn't understand those marks though. Lin Feng glanced around him. There was no other exit. There was only a network of mysterious marks around the tombstone. It seemed like the only way of moving forward was to destroy the tombstone. Look, that tombstone has some flaws, some parts are missing. Someone was pointing at the tombstone. Indeed, many people could see some holes as if it had been attacked many times. This is not an altar and even less a tombstone, someone contemplated coldly. People looked in the direction where the voice had come from and saw Yu Tianji wearing purple clothes. He never thought that such a thing really existed, except in rumors. If it's neither an altar nor a tombstone, then what is it? Someone was upset that he didn't spill all the beans. That Yu Tianji seemed like he was just showing off, as if he had been smarter than the others. Just sense it and you will see. Yu Tianji was smiling in an enigmatic way. He walked forwards and wiped the dust off the stone. It seemed like it had been there for millions of years. He released pure qi onto the stone which flowed into those strange vein-like marks. The crowd sensed an oppressive energy invade the atmosphere. They had the impression that the molecules in the air were starting to move chaotically. Space felt like it was moving around them. According to rumors, some incredible cultivators could travel over hundreds of thousands of meters in a flash using a tool which turned into a sacrificial altar and modified space. Could it be the sacrificial altar from the ancient scriptures? Someone speculated this when he sensed the molecules in the air moving in a chaotic way. Many people suddenly remembered that they had already read such a thing in ancient books. For these supreme beings, the laws of space and time were inexistent and they could manufacture a sort of sacrificial altar which enabled others to do the same. Could it be that the so-called palace or tomb or whatever it's called, of the emperor is not here? On top of that, we're supposed to go to another place to get there. Chapter 775, Crossing Space. If that's a sacrificial altar, are we supposed to use it to get to the tomb of the emperor? Somebody was curious. A lot of people frowned. There were more than 1,000 people here and the altar could only send 100 at most. The altar probably existed for millions of years. What if there was a problem with the time-space? They could get lost and die. Some were harboring unfathomable motives, who wished to cross space with enemies. It seems like we have to go to the emperor's tomb and that's the only solution we have. Yu Tianji was indifferent. Since everybody is scared, the people of Tianqi will give it a try first. Yu Tianji said smiling. He stepped forwards and entered the sacrificial altar. Yu Tianji was considered a strong cultivator, someone others followed. When he entered the altar, others followed him. No, many people had doubts when they saw Yu Tianji's enigmatic smile. Someone couldn't help but say, since our ancestors have already been to the emperor's tomb, nothing can happen. If they arrive first they will get the treasures before us. Indeed, why should people from Tianqi go first? Others chimed in. If I don't volunteer you all have doubts, but if I go in you also have doubts. What do you want me to do? I am asking everybody, who is willing to go in first? Tianqi doesn't necessarily have to be the first group to enter. Tianqi was upset. Let them go in first. First or last, does it matter? Someone tall from the East Sea Dragon Palace wearing a dragon robe and looking quite strong decided. Ao Jiao was the strongest young cultivator from the East Sea Dragon Palace, he was the leader of his group. Even Duan Wudao and Di Ling were his assistants. After all, Ao Jiao had always been a member of the East Sea Dragon Palace. Duan Wudao and Di Ling were strong but were new, so the East Sea Dragon Palace didn't completely trust them. You go first, someone wearing white clothes said, carrying a sword. His facial expression looked as sharp as a sword. They were from the Nine Cloud Sword sect, the young man who spoke before was Kong Jiuyi. Everybody remained silent, letting the Tianqi sect enter first, shouldn't cause them harm. Tianqi saw that everybody remained silent and smiled. He released his pure qi which floated around his body and started flowing into the mysterious vein-like marks. Space and time began undulating and everything became bright. Oh no! I have the feeling that I'm going to get swallowed by space and time too. The altar was diffusing a light which enveloped everybody. Lin Feng stared at Tianqi, he only saw him smiling in a mysterious way. Without further hesitation, Lin Feng said to Tang Yuyu, let's go in. Jun Mo Shi and the others followed suit. Bzzzzz, the crowd's thoughts were chaotic, they were terrified. It was as if their world was crashing around them. A terrifying hurricane emerged. People were scared to death, they were crossing space and time and buzzing sounds were resonating in their head. The deadly energies around them kept flowing which reminding them of ritual sacrifices. Could people die if they touched it? Ha! Immediately after, a terrifying sound spread in the air as a black hole appeared, swallowing somebody. Hearts were pounding when they saw that, was that person going to die? Ha! Ah! Now, many started producing horrible and blood-curdling shrieks. The atmosphere kept undulating and changing, rumbling sounds kept piercing through their eardrums, every horrible shriek made everyone else shake even more intensely. It meant that someone else was swallowed by the black hole. The crowd was going insane, all those extremely strong cultivators were being swallowed except for the Tianqi people who were in the light diffused by the altar, like a bubble. There was no exception, no matter how strong they were, they couldn't resist. Lin Feng thought about how powerful space and time were above the altar. That place was supposed to be the emperor's tomb, but that emperor, how strong was he? What was his cultivation level? Lin Feng didn't know the answers to those questions. Everyone except for those who were in the light were swallowed, rumbling sounds spread in the air in front of them, the atmosphere was changing as the lights disappeared. Suddenly, they were falling from the sky. Boom boom boom. They had no time to react as gravity crashed them into the ground, creating a deep crater. Lin Feng was no exception, he had also been terrified, his heart pounding rapidly. The buzzing sounds in his head were unceasing. He had no time to react, falling on the ground head first. Lin Feng's corporeal body was extremely solid, so he took his head out of the ground and looked at the others. Fucking sacrificial altar, cursed Huang Fu Long, crawling up and scratching his head. How strong is that guy, thought Lin Feng while glancing back at Huang Fu Long who seemed to have no injuries. The others were all more or less injured. From the 5 of them, Tang Yuyu was the most wounded, with bruises and wounds everywhere. She was the weakest of all of them. Those who had been swallowed by the black hole probably didn't die. It is more likely that those who are in the altar can cross space together while the others must have been thrown around in various places randomly, said Jun Mo Shi while looking at the new place. It was a vast area, it appeared dreary and contained an ancient death chi. The other groups from Tianqi were there as well, nothing too critical had happened to them either. We all stood on the altar and traveled through space together. Now that we have the advantage of staying together, we can easily hunt and kill others. Yu Tianji's face was filled with murder, but he looked absolutely calm and confident. But I guess some people's heart is filled with evil intentions and are not willing to do so, a member of the Tianshu group accused Lin Feng and his friends. Right, some people suddenly decided to become citizens of Tianqi, how can we be sure that they are not evil? Someone else chimed in. We have to put these tensions aside, don't forget about our initial goal. We represent Tianqi, we are not 7 different groups, we have to stay united, said Yu Tianji. I have no objection, but I am afraid that the people who became members of Tianqi at the very last minute could cause us trouble, someone else said mockingly. Lin Feng glared at the people from the Tianshu group, rabid dogs like to bite other people. Lin Feng hadn't settled accounts for what happened back in the tunnel. Surprisingly, he hadn't even mentioned it, and yet someone was taking the initiative to provoke him. Chapter 776, Inner Battle. I know why those people joined our group, it's because they only harbor evil intentions. As soon as they entered the mysterious world they showed everyone what their true colors were, someone said while staring at Lin Feng coldly. They were the ones who had almost made Lin Feng become blind. He continued, you joined Tianqi because you needed to come to the mysterious world and steal the treasures, but you didn't want to give it to the group who sent you there. You've never considered yourselves as citizens of Tianqi or members of our group. Look, you Tianji, we came to the mysterious world to join hands to fight against enemies. The Zune cultivator asked this, but it seems like some people are trying to destroy our cohesion and unity. Those people have a dubious background, so we should kill them. If we don't, something catastrophic might happen to our group, someone else said with aggression. They wanted to kill Lin Feng and his friends. The other members of the Tianxian group frowned. The Tianshu group wanted to kill Lin Feng and his friends. The other members of the Tianxian group would be in a critical situation if such a thing happened. Bloody liar, you're all disgusting, shut your filthy mouth. Huang Fulong was still furious at Tianshu. He continued to shout, you're all shameless, you attacked us by surprise in the dark and wanted to kill us, yet you dare talk in the name of the elders. Shut the hell up, we listen to the Zune cultivator. We never tried to attack you by surprise, we would never act in such a cowardly and slyly way. Now, you're just trying to change the topic, that's fine. Why do you need to find so many excuses? He looked at the crowd and said, everybody, did you see that? If those people stay alive, they will be a source of great problems for us later. Huang Fulong started releasing some terrifying qi, silver lights were twinkling in his eyes, and his voice sounded like thunder, what a bunch of bastards. You are evil and sly, just a bunch of losers. How shameless. You're showing your true colors now, said his interlocutor with a cold smile. No time to waste my breath on you. Huang Fulong started circulating his physical strength in his body as a terrifying strength which seemed to come from ancient times rose up in the air. Everybody, look who is not listening to the Zune cultivator's instructions. He wants to attack us. If he really wanted to maintain the unity and cohesion of the group and collect treasures in peace with the rest of the group, he wouldn't threaten us like this. We have to kill them, they continued. They were speaking as if they were the ones who were benevolent. Ling Shi just calmly watched and remained silent. It seemed like what was happening had nothing to do with him. He was staring at Lin Feng and his friends indifferently. If I don't kill you, I don't deserve to be called the Hai Chong, shouted Huang Fulong furiously. He lunged forwards, the ground shook and some rumbling sound spread in the air. The ground even broke under the pressure. Huang Fulong raised his fist and attacked the one who was spouting poison. Indirectly, he also wanted to avenge Lin Feng. Surprisingly, he wants to kill us. He really despises Tianqi, said another member of Tianshu while smiling coldly. One of the Tian Shu members who had a huge hat threw himself at Huang Fu Long's dragon fist. Two people were attacking Huang Fu Long at the same time. Boom! A terrifying and extremely brutal energy which seemed to have the power to crush a mountain, emerged from Huang Fu Long. Out from Huang Fu Long's body slowly emerged a dragon which pushed them back. He was too strong. How audacious, you're trying to kill my people, said a third one while attacking. Some snow and ice condensed in the air and turned into an ice sword aimed for Huang Fu Long. Piss off, shouted Huang Fu Long furiously. Dragon Qi emerged, making the last attacker feel febrile and weak. His ice sword shattered into pieces. How impressive, how brutal, how violent, thought the crowd. They hadn't thought that Huang Fu Long, who looked dull and stupid, was that strong. He could resist 3 opponents, 3 geniuses of the Tian Shu group. Die, someone else attacked Huang Fu Long, his hand was shot out with incredible speed. That fist contained terrifying ice energy. The atmosphere was filled with a terrifying force as the wind created by the fist sent shivers down Huang Fu Long's spine. Enough, said Lin Feng coldly as he moved like the wind. The ice wind crashed onto his body now that he was directly facing the one who last attacked. For fighting against one, how incredible. As expected, you really listened to the Zun cultivator's instructions, said Lin Feng while staring down the opponents. That person wanted to move back, but then he saw Lin Feng raise and stretch out his hand. Lin Feng grabbed his arm as a terrifying physical strength invaded his body. Die, shouted someone furiously while releasing ice intent straight towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surrounded by ice in a flash, however, he released some terrifying sword energy. It was as if he had unsheathed a peerless sword as the ice disappeared without a trace. Another member of the Tian Shu group was getting ready to attack, but Lin Feng turned his head, looked at him coldly, and opened his mouth, lacerate. A terrifying sword light at the person, who retreated back trying to dodge. Boom! Lin Feng's fists crashed onto the shoulders of the person in front of him. That person emitted a horrible shriek as his shoulders were crushed. An ice-cold qi spread in the air. Every member of the Tian Shu group felt like they had to attack when they saw that Lin Feng went on the offensive. Everybody, don't you see? He wants to kill the people of Tian Shu. If we didn't fight back, we'd just be cowards. Said Ling Xia indifferently, emphasizing every word. He actually thought he could get away with his sly words against Lin Feng and Huang Fu Long. Since you're saying that we want to kill the people from the Tian Shu group, I will indulge you, said Lin Feng, glancing back at Ling Xia and releasing some terrifying, deadly energy. He jumped forwards as his energy crashed onto the person who just talked, blood splashed out of his mouth. A terrifying physical strength then crushed his internal organs, breaking them. Needless to say, that person immediately died. At the same time, an incredible quantity of ice energy moved towards Lin Feng. The people of Tian Shu were all attacking Lin Feng at the same time. The skies suddenly filled with snowflakes as everything began to freeze. Do you intend to sit there and watch? Lin Feng was trying to involve Tian Chi Shui and the others. Lin Feng, you shouldn't have killed him, said Tian Chi Shui coldly. Lin Feng had killed someone from Tian Chi, that was a crime. Now they had an excuse to kill him. What you mean is that I should have let them come and kill me, said Lin Feng calmly. Tian Chi Shui was surprised yet remained silent. You don't deserve someone like the Hai Chong, he's too good for you, said Lin Feng indifferently. He then decided to ignore Tian Chi Shui. It was the first time that someone told her that she didn't deserve someone. In the Tian Chi Empire, every young man liked her and considered her as a goddess, they all wanted to marry her. The people of Tian Shu have been plotting against me, and then that wild dog started biting. He pissed me off so bad, he even tried to kill me. Well then, come and fight, try to kill me. Lin Feng challenged all of them. The only thing that mattered here was strength. Snowflakes were pouring down. These snowflakes contained snow and ice intent. Lin Feng and Huang Fulong's blood were already starting to freeze. If they had been a little bit weaker, they would have died from the difficulty. Die die die. All the members of the Tian Shu clan were attacking. A terrifying ice intent fell on Lin Feng and Huang Fulong's bodies. Huang Fulong's pure qi almost stopped flowing, his entire body was under too much pressure. Lin Feng's fists were covered with a layer of ice when a terrifying fire ignited and melted the snow instantly, leaving only a puddle on the ground. Do you think that you can stop all of us, even if your fire intent is strong? They continued attacking together as they increased the power of their ice intent. They really wanted to kill Lin Feng. Sirrr. Sirrr. Now a terrifyingly sharp sword qi spread in the air, scaring the ice and snow cultivators. That terrifying and peerless sword was about to cut through their bodies. They suddenly felt tiny and insignificant, even their intent was cut to pieces. Chapter 777, Who Can Stop Him? Level 6 Sword Intent, thought the crowd watching Lin Feng. They were suddenly terrified as a certain coldness spread through their spinal cords. Their hands were shaking. How terrifying. They couldn't resist someone whose sword intent already reached level 6. I really don't know what makes you think that you are so strong. Lin Feng remained standing in the middle of those snowflakes as they flew around chaotically, but unable to reach him. His sword intent cut them before they could get close. The crowd was terrified that they were going to die at any moment. Die! Lin Feng shouted furiously while his sword light descended from the sky. The one standing closest to him immediately condensed some snowflakes, but blood started dripping on the ground from between his eyebrows, tainting the snow red. Am I dying? That person died with his eyes wide open. He had become a genius in Tian Qi. He had been chosen to go to the mysterious world, but he hadn't the opportunity to see the emperor or acquire treasures. On top of that, he had died in the hands of someone from his own group. What a pity. Lin Feng jumped forwards with the wind. It seemed like he was controlling the air around him. Wind intent, thought the crowd stunned. First, he had used fire intent, then he used a terrifying sword intent, and now he was using wind intent. He moved like the wind. It was the only explanation. Lin Feng, alone, could use 3 different intents. Besides, he was extremely skilled at using all of them, especially sword intent which ranked at level 6. Condense. Lin Feng stretched one finger in which he condensed a terrifyingly sharp sword energy. It seemed like his body contained millions of swords. He crashed into someone who was reduced to powder. They couldn't compete with Lin Feng. You want to kill me, but can you? Lin Feng looked at the crowd. Anyone whose eyes met Lin Feng's immediately looked elsewhere. They didn't dare look at him. The sharp lights twinkling in his eyes were too dazzling and painful. Lin Feng continued moving forwards and looked at the one who had been plotting against him. How come? How come Lin Feng was that strong? How was it possible? How come Lin Feng's intent could make him feel so weak? First, you plotted against me, then you wanted to kill me, then you wanted to kill my friend. It is not that I didn't listen to the elders, it's because you are sly and evil that I must kill you. Lin Feng jumped forwards. That person ran back, terrified. However, Lin Feng had also broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer, and with his wind intent, there was no chance of escape. Lin Feng caught up with him, his sword streaked across the sky as it took a life. Another extremely strong cultivator had died. Lin Feng could kill cultivators of the 9th Xian Qi layer as if he had been killing simple insects. Lin Feng had killed 3 people already but didn't stop. The people from the Tian Shu group had said twice that they wanted to kill him. They had attacked him by surprise in the tunnel and again in this new place where they had started again. Since it was that way, Lin Feng couldn't show any mercy. He had to make an example out of this group. Lin Feng turned his head around as sword lights illuminated the sky. They were pointing at the cultivators from the Tian Shu group. Back! The cultivators of the Tian Shu group were terrified. 1,000,000 sword lights were facing them and they felt that their judgment day had come. How is that possible? He's a monster, their hearts were pounding violently. Why are you running? I thought you wanted to kill me. Lin Feng was smiling coldly now. His 10,000 sword lights were moving faster towards them, the colors of the earth and sky were changing, his sword lights were whistling furiously. Condense and kill. Lin Feng stopped toying with them. His 10,000 sword lights condensed into 4 swords. The whistling sounds disappeared as the 4 deadly swords made their way. Although they retreated, they knew they couldn't resist anymore. The lights shot straight through them as blood dripped from between their eyebrows. Of the 8 geniuses from Tian Shu, only one remained, the leader of the group, Ling Xie. Huan Fu Long looked delighted, yet stunned and speechless. He opened his mouth to say something to Lin Feng, but nothing came out. He never thought that Lin Feng could be so terrifying. Ling Xie couldn't help but shiver, he hadn't thought that Lin Feng could become so strong. Nobody was able to stop him. You killed everyone from the Tian Shu group and betrayed Tian Qi. Ling Xie was gnashing his teeth. I betrayed Tian Qi. Lin Feng seemed to find humor in this. You originally wanted to kill me, but I instead killed you all when push came to shove. What fault is there in self-defense? Lin Feng took a step forwards. We came as a group representing Tian Qi with one rule, not to betray our country. You exterminated the Tian Shu group. Only an incredibly evil person could think to get away with this treason. You're ridiculous, so ridiculous that it's sad. You tried to kill me but failed, so I killed you. I am convinced that the elders of Tian Qi will side with me. Lin Feng was done arguing. He condensed some sword intent which was vast like an ocean, emitting whistling sounds as it whipped about. That's enough. You've killed enough of them already. Do you really want to exterminate the entire Tian Shu group? Someone was furious. The person was from the Yaoguang group. Ling Xie was the last member of the Tian Shu group, it would be difficult to explain if the group came back like this. Lin Feng turned around and looked at the leader from the Yaoguang group. Indeed, Lin Feng, you killed 7 of them, that should be enough. Someone else decided to chime in as well. I think you went too far. You are a member of the Tian Xian group but you broke our one rule. You betrayed Tian Qi. Everybody was suddenly criticizing and blaming Lin Feng, but his heart was unshakable. He smiled coldly and said, they plotted against me and you all know it. The Tian Xian group is always getting bullied and maltreated, and nobody protects us when it happens. The only reason you are all getting angry is because you are scared that the Tian Xian group could rise. You want to keep us under control so your groups can instead shine in the future. How audacious. You are really impudent and arrogant. Everybody was refuting Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng slowly turned around and didn't look at them. Those who want to kill me must die. Countless swords appeared in the sky again as Lin Feng attempted that Tian-level skill of average quality. He had only done it once before, but coupled with his level 6 sword intent, he was completely confident. A sword fell down from the sky as the leader of the Tian Shu group, Ling Xie, immediately died. He didn't even have time to react. It didn't matter if you were the leader of the Tian Shu group or any other genius, there was only one result when facing Lin Feng. The crowd was tense now that the Tian Shu group died. Alright. Lin Feng, let's travel the mysterious world together. We can assure you that we won't upset you anymore. Let's listen to the elders, unite and join hands. Lin Feng looked back at the crowd. You think that you are strong enough to join me? You can continue alone. Lin Feng rolled up his sleeves and left looking heroic. They were in the mysterious world so no one could challenge him below the Tian Qi layer. Chapter 778, the skeletons of the strong cultivators. The crowd was left in low spirits. Lin Feng was a quiet guy who joined them from seemingly nowhere. Suddenly, he showed them his incredible strength but refused to help them. The Tian Xian group had different thoughts. Bai Lixi's eyes were twinkling. Lin Feng was a lot stronger than him. Tian Qi Shui was surprised. Lin Feng was a lot stronger than what she'd expected. She had found Lin Feng unpleasant from the first time she saw Lin Feng. She had seen how Lin Feng didn't care for her and now realized that Lin Feng despised her. She was the goddess of Tian Qi, but in Lin Feng's eyes this meant nothing. He added insult to injury when he said that Huang Fulong was too good for her. Jun Mo Shi and the others watched Lin Feng leave, including Huang Fulong, who glanced back at Tian Qi Shui. He shouted, "Lin Feng, you're so strong that I don't need to stay next to you. Instead of remaining useless, I will stay here and protect my future wife." Lin Feng turned his head back to look at Huang Fulong. He could only scratch his head. What could he do? Huang Fulong really was an idiot. Surprisingly, he still dreamt of getting married with Tian Qi Shui. Alright, but leave her once you realize you don't actually like her. Lin Feng really didn't like seeing Tian Qi Shui and Huang Fulong together. She was considered as a goddess in Tian Qi, but she was too arrogant. She despised Huang Fulong and yet he kept sticking to her. Alright. Huang Fulong was still smiling like an idiot. Then, Lin Feng then turned around. This incredibly vast place contained some dreary and ancient energies. The mountains looked majestic, the rivers were flowing. Everything had been untouched for centuries. You wouldn't find qi from a single living creature because there were none. This place too vast, we don't know where we have to go from here. Does the tomb of the emperor really exist? Lin Feng paused as he looked up at the sky. The desolate and dreary qi of the area was floating above his head. Cultivators had come here before, and the rumors stated that those who made it out were extremely strong, so much so that they were treasured by empires of average quality. It can't be too easy to find treasure, especially seeing how we've come after those who already took away some of it. Jun Mo Shi sympathized. Lin Feng agreed, our group crossed the space first. If we wander around aimlessly we'll lose our initial superiority. We have to keep to a direction until we find something. Tang Yuyu was searching the sky, her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. She was trying to decide on a direction to go. I don't even know where we came from. Tang Yuyu now shook her head. While they were crossing space, they felt dizzy and their heads were spinning. They couldn't know which direction they had come from. Tang Yuyu wasn't the only one, the others were also lost. Lin Feng looked pensive, then said, let's go north. Why north? Tang Yuyu curiously. The death qi is extremely thick there. Lin Feng reasoned that the best rewards were found with the greatest danger. The others looked at each other and nodded. The death qi really was thick in the north. Without wasting time, the group headed north. They must have made the right decision as they saw nobody on the way. After an hour they discovered a steep slope where the strong death qi was emanating from. A skeleton. Lin Feng had found a skeleton not far in front of them, dried with age. So many skeletons. The others found many more. They continued moving forwards, a gentle breeze was brushing their skin. Some skeletons turned to dust as the breeze swept them. They had probably been there for an inconceivable amount of time. Cultivators of the Tian Qi layer confused with the earth thanks to the human-earth fusion. They remain determined even after death. These bodies disappear with a breeze, so they must have been cultivators of the Xian Qi layer. Jun Mo Shi picked up a lot of information from the scene. If that's the case, there must have been a great battle. They probably wanted to take a treasure and fought for it. Yun Fei Yang guessed. He continued to the top of the mountain. When he arrived he shouted, hurry up, come here. The others followed to see what was so surprising. There were many buildings, thatched huts, caves, etc. Clearly, people used to live here in the past. The skeletons were probably the result of war which had resulted from tensions between those who lived here and those that came from their world. Let's go and see. Lin Feng ran ahead. Of all the shabby huts and houses, there wasn't a single construction which had remained intact. Let's separate so we can cover more ground. Lin Feng said to the three others. They nodded and left in different directions. Lin Feng chose a cave and found pieces of furniture and basic utensils covered by dust. There was a skeleton on the ground as well, sitting cross-legged. They must have died without any time to react. Lin Feng grabbed the skeleton and inspected it closely. Even with the crackling sounds, he could tell that the skeleton was extremely solid. That cultivator had broken free from the limits of the Xian Qi layer, he thought, looking at that calm and peaceful-looking skeleton. There were no signs of damage on the skeleton. What kind of cultivator could have killed this person who had broken through to the Tian Qi layer, without giving them the time to react? Lin Feng couldn't find anything else in the cave besides the skeleton. He left the cave and entered a house. There were skeletons in almost all the caves, houses and huts. It seemed like they had been touched by other people before as well. They were all in the same position, as if they had been killed on the spot without the time to react. After an hour, the group still hadn't found anything. Suddenly, a cold chi streaked across the sky. Everyone raised their heads to see the group of people from Tian Qi. They decided not to stop though. The leader of the Tian Ji group was leading them, Yu Tian Ji. Just as Lin Feng had heard, cultivators of the Tian Qi layer were the cultivation emperor's slaves. Maybe they had been killed by him before. Silhouettes passed by every now and then. They were other strong cultivators who came to the mysterious world with them. Surprisingly, they hadn't died and they now looked like they were in a rush. A place with so many cultivators of the Tian Qi layer must be wealthy. There must be treasures to collect elsewhere. They decided to stop wasting time and continued moving north.